Welcome, everyone. We are live. Power Punchers episode 7. We're in the building. This is a special one. We got the Halestormsports reunion coming in a little bit. Subscribe to Calix Boxing 2.0 on YouTube. Catch all the previous shows. The previous 6 shows are on a playlist on the channel. Power Punchers playlist. Catch a prediction playlist on there as well. As always, and by the way, catch it in audio form as well on iHeartRadio. All that good stuff. I'm being joined, as always, by the co-host, one half of HCP, D-Style Boxing. What's going on, D-Style? You're on mute, D-Style.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I want to thank everybody that's tuning in. It's Power Punchers, man. I'm ready for some hard fisticuffs here. You know what I mean? Verbally, anyway.
Hit that like button as you come in as well.
Plus, I even got freshed up for this one. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
You got that fresh, man. I'm jealous. I'm rocking the baldy.
I got a nice little fade right there. You know what I mean? It's just perks when you still have your hair. Perks.
It's sad, man. Everybody on this panel has hair except yours truly. But you know what? The ladies still love the baldy with the beard that fully connects now, Hale. We'll get into that later. But we're being joined tonight by Ryan O'Hara, man. We appreciate your time tonight, Ryan.
Anytime, man. And welcome to another edition of Power Punchers, brought to you by the sport of boxing.
That's that radio voice.
We couldn't do it without the sport of boxing. It is true.
That's that radio voice right there. And we wanted to bring you on, give you a fresh perspective, because there's a lot going on out there with Canelo, Caleb Plant. A lot of people have opinions on things, which none of us have seen the contract. So none of us know exactly what happened, right? But everybody has an opinion. And we wanted to bring you on to give yours because there was a lot of back and forth with people on Twitter. So we wanted to bring you on here to give sort of your opinion on what happened. First of all, what exactly happened from your sources that you're hearing from last week to this week?
Well, initially I was told that the fight was 100% happening, but there were a few minor details that needed to be amended that had, no impact on the fight. It turned out those minor details were actually pretty damn huge, which nothing surprises us in boxing anymore. So from what I understand, Caleb Plant, if what Caleb is saying is true, he agreed to his part of the agreement weeks ago. He's going to get 10 million. Canelo's going to get 40 million, but then Canelo wanted to add some more stipulations after the fact. So they were like, well, he wanted more of the upside of the pay-per-view revenue. Caleb's like, yeah, no problem. I mean, I kind of figured that I was going to get less of the pay-per-view revenue anyway. And the next thing was the rematch clause. If Canelo loses, he gets a rematch. Okay, cool. I just want to fight. Now, where it gets really weird is the injury clause. Now, if what Caleb is saying is true, if Canelo were to get injured, regardless of whatever it is, he gets sick, a statue falls in his hand, like with Carl Frampton, car accident. You never know. Things happen. And let's say he needs a year off to recover. If Caleb Plant signs that contract under those circumstances, he has to wait that entire time. He can't fight anybody. Mm-hmm. But if Canelo Alvarez gets hurt, if Caleb Plant were to get injured, Canelo gets to pick a replacement opponent. They didn't say who. It could be Golovkin, could be Anthony Durrell. He gets to fight that person for the same pay. So he still gets the $40 million payment. Now, imagine you're in Al Heyman's shoes and, Canelo, you always get mixed up these names, but Plant gets injured. And the only person available to fight at the time is Anthony Durrell. If you're Heyman, would you want to pay Canelo $40 million to fight Anthony Durrell on Fox pay-per-view? That sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like a financial disaster, regardless of who you are. No one, people want to watch Canelo fight, but they do not want to pay $80, $85, could be $100 to watch him fight Anthony Durrell. We all know how that fight's going to go. So that's the major issue that is popping up. I think the fight will still happen, but you got to put the egos aside. So Canelo's side has to realize, okay, well, if Plant gets hurt and you're going to fight someone less, you're not going to get 40 million, but we can make a deal. Let's make it 20, 25, 30. We'll find somebody. DAZN mentioned that they had already contacted Gennady Golovkin about potentially stepping in for a third fight if, Plant is unable to fight him. And from what I'm hearing from my sources, Gennady's actually been training pretty hard, just in case he gets the call. And obviously he has the fight coming up with Murata. I believe it's going to be December 28th, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that, egos getting in the way, and that's a big problem, when it comes to boxing promoters and networks these days. Egos gets in the way of pretty much anything. And when this sort of thing happens, especially when we're talking undisputed, because, if Caleb Plant fights someone else, ends up fighting somebody else and loses, well, now we're not talking about undisputed, and, you add different fighters, it gets messed up. You look at the Joshua Wilder situation. We had an opportunity 4 years ago to have two undefeated heavyweights in their prime for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. That went by the wayside because of egos. And I think that, if people just, did the right thing, we would get these fights.
Now, a couple of things. So when it comes to the injury clause, right? The way I from what I've seen, I don't really think it's made or intended in any way, shape, or form. I could be wrong, of course, but I don't think it's intended to keep Caleb sitting on his hands and he's doing nothing for a year or months, or I don't think it's intended for that at all. I think it's intended if I get a training injury, which usually could postpone it a couple of months, or if I get COVID or something like that, which could postpone it a month and a half, 2 months. I think the intent is to keep the fight intact in case Canelo, who is the draw on the A side in this case, who is the attraction in this case, to keep it alive. I think that's the intention behind it. I don't think the intention is if I get in a car crash and I'm in a coma for 9 months, Plant, you can't fight anybody. I don't think it's made. Something just tells me there's no way like it's intended for that. I'm not saying it's impossible that could be a scenario, but I just don't think it's intended for that at all. Now on the Plant side, look, or the Canelo side, he's saying, look, if I get injured, of course, or Plant, I'm sorry, because that's two scenarios. I apologize. If Plant gets, injured, then what Canelo is saying is the following, and I'm putting it myself because I understand you're saying put yourself in Al Heyman's shoes. Understandable. But let me put myself in Canelo's shoes. Canelo could make 25 to 30 million on the zone guaranteed right now if he wants to in September. He could fight Beterbiev. He could fight Bivol. He has a lot of options. He doesn't need Plant like that. He doesn't need Fox like that. He doesn't need PBC like that. I understand 40 million is more, but look at it this way. Let's say he gets 30 million to fight Beterbiev, guaranteed on the zone, right? September, then he comes back and gets another 25, 30 million to fight in December, right? Mm-hmm. Where in the other scenario, if Plant gets injured, oh, now I need to wait for this guy, and then I postpone the fight for another 2 months. So he can actually make less if Plant gets injured. He can actually lose money if Plant gets injured. So I'm looking at it from his perspective. Well, I think the way he's looking at it is this way. I'm sure Showtime didn't really want the Berto fight with Mayweather, but they had a guarantee with him. They had to do it. I'm sure they probably didn't want the Robert Guerrero fight, but they kind of had to do it. All he is saying is this. I want 40 million guaranteed because I don't need to leave. I'm good where I'm at. I'm making good money. So you got to pay me more for me to come to you. I want 40 million guaranteed. And if your guy gets injured or pulls out of this fight, I still want the 40 million guaranteed if you want me on pay-per-view. And I understand, the Al Heyman perspective, but hey, the way I see it, if that's too much of a hassle or a problem, then let's do the fight on the zone then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
That's another way. But like I said, it's really, really risky. If Plant were to get hurt for any reason, I think financially it wouldn't be viable. Now, it could go into zone. If you put it on, if you put the replacement fight onto zone, that would make sense. For example, you get rid of the Fox pay-per-view. Perhaps you get the third Golovkin fight. Golovkin's with the zone. That would make sense. And Beterbiev's with the ESPN. That might be a little bit harder to make. And from what I'm hearing, Canelo is starting to. I've heard on the inside, Beterbiev is actually starting to have problems making weight. And if you look at guys who have problems making weight over time, what are they most vulnerable to? Shots to the body. Who's the best body puncher in boxing? Canelo Alvarez. I say Canelo takes out Beterbiev late to the body if they fight. I think that he might get dropped early in that fight. Beterbiev is one of the strongest punchers in boxing, but he is a little bit chinny, as we saw against Callum Johnson.
Let me throw this out there. I don't know if y'all caught the live stream on DAZN today. Eddie Hearn does a weekly live stream. He said that Bivol will be, that's an option. Bivol would be the main option that they talked to with Eddie Reynoso if this fight were to fall through. But he's still, Caleb Plant is still very much in the mix, just not for September 18th. So it seems like maybe that fight will back up a couple weeks, but they're still trying to do it. It seems to me like Eddie Hearn is just backing up a little bit and saying, Canelo wants this fight. I'm not going to let my ego get in the way. He said, I'm not going to throw my toys around a playpen. I'm just going to let Canelo and Eddie Reynoso try to make this fight, because that is still option A for Canelo from what Eddie Hearn said today. So it still doesn't seem to me like the fight is completely dead, but Bivol is still there as the option. That seems like the number one option if this fight were to fall through. Here's my issue. Once I heard that Al Heyman was running point guard on this fight, I got that sinking feeling in my stomach, because it's so easy. Like Canelo and Eddie have shown that they could make fights in short order. Canelo made a fight in December. He made a fight in February. He made a fight in May. Back to back to back. They're wheeling and dealing. Canelo has shown that he'll make fights with people that stylistically don't match up well with him. So he has a track record of making fights, right? Whereas Caleb Plant, his side, Al Heyman, not so much. You look at Caleb Plant's resume, not so much. Al Heyman, not so much. This is the third time they try to make this fight. So you can play the devil's advocate. Maybe Canelo doesn't want to make the fight with Caleb Plant, but I see it the opposite way. Al Heyman seems to be the poison pill here, in my opinion, in making this fight happen. Once I heard that he was the guy running point guard on this fight, I just got that sinking feeling. I wanted Eddie Hearn to run the point guard because this fight could easily get made. And it seems to me like if Caleb Plant wants this fight, he would have told Al Heyman, he would have took control of his career and said, Al, can you step aside on this and just let Eddie Hearn run point guard in this? Because there's no doubt in my mind, even if Eddie Hearn would have ran point guard, Caleb Plant still would have got $10 million. He still would have got his $10 million. That's just my opinion on it. We can talk about the guarantee. He wants to get $40 million guaranteed to fight anybody, all that stuff. But the reason we're here, in my opinion, is because of Al Heyman. That's the reason we're still here in late July for a fight that's supposed to be September 18th. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, Al Heyman is fighting for his guy. And if, Heyman wasn't trying to, get the right deal, then he's not doing his due diligence. He's a business guy. He's defending his guy. And I understand that. And if, from my perspective, people call me, oh, you're a fan of this organization, this promoter, I'm just a realist. If I saw the injury clause, it's like, oh, if my guy gets hurt, you can't fight until he's good. I probably wouldn't be okay with that. I think that's too risky. I feel like we should just cut the BS. Let's just fight for the undisputed championship, and whoever wins gets the belt. I think that would be the most logical explanation, but this is the sport of boxing. And as we all know, it is very complicated.
You got anything to add on the Al Heyman thing, D-Style?
Well, I mean, I think we've said what we've said. I think we all kind of agree on mostly everything for the most part, I think. It's just, to me, well, I understand that Al Heyman's looking out for his guy and all that. I get it. But they also have to be, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, they have to be realistic on the position they're in. Like, they're just not in a position of power. I've given this analogy, and I think it's pretty spot on. It's like Canelo and Plant are playing poker, right? And right now, Canelo has almost practically all the chips. He has the legacy chips. He has the cash cow chips. He has the 3 of the 4 belts chips, right? I mean, he's got the back end chips. If you beat him, you become a megastar chips. He's got all these chips on the table, right? And he's sliding them in the middle of the table with conditions, of course, but he's sliding them to the table, and he's telling Caleb and he's telling Plant, that chip you got, because Plant only got 1 chip. It's the IBF chip, and he needs it to be undisputed. So it's important. It's an important chip, but I want that chip. So throw that thing in the middle of the table, and let's get this deck of cards out, and whoever wins takes it all. That's how I feel about it, and I think people got to be realistic on where Canelo is, and I'll ask you this, Ryan, because you've covered boxing for a while, like, and maybe you disagree, or maybe you agree. I don't know. Isn't Canelo one of the most generous A sides you've ever seen? To me,
I don't know about generous. I mean, I can't really grade anybody on generosity. I haven't really, put that into mind. The way I look at it right now is that if you have a legitimate concern over fighting somebody, that's when stipulations come in. So, for example, when Oscar De La Hoya fought Floyd Mayweather, he knew Floyd Mayweather was going to be really, really hard to beat. So what do? Move up to my weight class. That was one stipulation. Okay, I'm going to pick the gloves that you want. I'm going to pick the size of the gloves that you want. That was Oscar saying, okay, you're in my house now. I control everything. Now, was there a rematch clause for the Canelo Alvarez fight? There was not. Was there a rematch clause for the Yildirim fight? Of course not. Canelo knew right away he was gonna run him over. They already had the Saunders fight signed before they even fought that night. And some people ask me, well, for mandatory fights, is there usually isn't a rematch clause? Yes, that is true. However, there is a rematch clause in place for the Joshua Usyk fight, which is also a mandatory. So that's not always true. So it really depends. And there wasn't a rematch clause for the Lomachenko-Lopez fight because Bob Arum didn't want one. Bob Arum typically doesn't like rematch clauses, even though sometimes his fights do come with rematch clauses. So in this case, another stipulation, as I mentioned earlier, if Canelo loses the fight, he gets a rematch. If Plant loses, he doesn't get a rematch. So automatically, in my mind, yes, there is some sort of concern that Caleb Plant is going to be a really difficult fight. And compared to the likes of Smith and Saunders, I believe that Caleb's speed, his jab, and his movement could trouble Canelo to an extent. I still think Canelo's going to win the fight. People get this mistaken. Oh, you think Caleb's going to win? I think Canelo will win, but it's going to be like a 7-5, 8-4 type of fight. It's going to be close. It's going to be a lot closer than you think. That's just styles. Styles make fights. And I think there's a legitimate concern that, maybe Canelo might not look as good as he has looked in previous fights, but that doesn't mean that Canelo is necessarily, diminishing. It means he's getting challenged. So when you see like Golovkin in his prime, when he destroyed, Marco Antonio Rubio or Matthew Macklin, but then, he looked somewhat quote unquote human against Daniel Jacobs, that's just stepping up in competition. And that's what boxing's all about. It's about, taking on the best opponents.
I guess what I'm trying to get at when I say generally, I'm talking about the amount of money the B-side makes, right?
Yeah. Like, I went on a different tangent, but Canelo has lowballed guys in the past, but I don't really rate it on generosity. But if you look at it, I'd say this is more of a generous split. But the reason why this is more of a generous split is because Caleb Plant, first of all, didn't demand too much money. He could have said, we're going for the undisputed championship. I want $20 million. Canelo probably would have laughed at that. But Caleb was respectful. He's like, well, I don't want to price myself out. I think 10 million is good. Daniel Jacobs and Sergey Kovalev made 12 million to fight Canelo. And Caleb's like, I want 10. It's undisputed. He could have requested a lot more, but he didn't. And I feel like that aspect of it, the pay, that's why it got done so quick, is because Caleb didn't price himself out.
What I'm trying to get at is, like, I understand that it's for undisputed, but Caleb didn't really do, other than holding the IBF belt, he hasn't really. It's not exactly Ramirez Tater where they both like met halfway with it. Like they both put work, they both beat champions, they both like did all that. It kind of just like Caleb, it's just the last fight he's unifying, but he's not doing anything different than Smith or Billy Joe did, really. I mean, he's just the guy that's
168.
holding a belt. It just happens to be the last one.
Yeah,
right?
well, 168 isn't exactly a deep division. It's actually probably one of the worst divisions in boxing, if you ask me, to be honest.
Well, that's what I mean, and he
Well.
should be very fortunate. All I'll say is this: I don't know exactly who it is that Canelo lowballed, but I mean, if you go down the line, almost all his opponents saw their best payday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fighting Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Well, I mean, if you're a top fighter, making a lot of money, even if you lowball somebody, it's still probably going to be their best payday. But that doesn't necessarily mean that lowballing is impossible. Now, another point, I'm trying to think about this one, but trying to recall. But Canelo is he's the biggest star in boxing, so naturally he has that leverage. But he really wants that undisputed belt. So I think what was up? You want to say something?
Yeah, one last thing I want to throw out as far as track record. Canelo also has on his track record that he's willing to be the B-side and get a small split. You look at Mayweather versus Canelo. Mayweather got 41.5 guaranteed. Canelo got 5. All right, so small percentage. We're in a similar situation here. He could have said, Caleb, you're getting $5 million. I got 7 other guys right there lined up with their hands up in the air, ready to fight me, that the boxing world would want to see. But Caleb does bring something to the table, obviously, undisputed. But 10 million is generous. It's generous. It's very generous. So I just look at track record. To me, this smells like Al Heyman. It just smells like Al Heyman is doing his work in the background. And if Eddie Hearn was in charge of this, if Eddie Hearn was point guard in this, I think this fight would be made already. I think we'd already be promoting the fight.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no doubt about that. But I mean, that's what happens when you're with different promoters. And that's just the environment that we're in right now. And I guess at this point, we just have to accept it unless we do something to fix it. And another thing I wanted to mention, people want to ask, Caleb Plant doesn't have the best resume. Well, before the invention of sanctioning bodies, when they actually did stuff that actually helped the sport, because right now they really don't. But Winky Wright, no one wanted to fight Winky Wright until finally the one sanctioning body was like, fight this guy, man. We're forcing you to fight Winky Wright. If that didn't happen, Winky Wright probably never would have made in the Hall of Fame because he was that dangerous. Mike McCallum too. Marvin Hagler didn't want to fight him. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't want to fight him. And and despite that, he still had some great fights. James Toney, I'm
glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because it seems to me that the biggest problem I had with the franchise belt was that it's doing the opposite of forcing these guys to fight the contenders, whoever they may be. Where do you personally stand with the franchise belt? And do you believe what I said? I said this when it first came out. It started as a joke. I said, watch, it's going to be in every division. But then I just learned you should never joke in boxing because then it happens, right? And you should never say, it can't get any worse than this in boxing either. Like you never say those two things. Do you think we'll have a franchise champion in every division like we have a super champion now with the WBA at some point?
I hope not, man. I would be surprised. But I remember I was driving to Phoenix and I heard from the inside, oh, Khan's going to fight Canelo. And I literally put on like a SpongeBob video and I was like, what the? And then actually, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, dude, Khan will win. I literally said this on one of the shows. I was like, yeah, Khan will win the first 5 rounds. Then he's going to get knocked out in round 6. And that's what happened. But as far as the franchise belt's concerned, I'm honest. I'll say this from an objective standpoint. I actually think the intention of the franchise belt was actually good. You're rewarding your best fighter by saying, okay, you don't have to follow our rules because you're so good. But then it opened a whole big can of worms. The problem is, I feel like that a lot of these guys that run these sanctioning bodies, they kind of think that their ideas are and then it turns out to be horrible, absolutely terrible. So now, if someone's the franchise belt and someone remotely imposing wants to fight him, he can choose not to fight him because you are now at the top of the throne. That's garbage. Hate that.
Well, I just feel like that's not their job. That's the promoters. Let them promote, and this guy's so great. Let the promoters do all that. Your job as a sanctioning body shouldn't be promoting, which I felt WBC did way too much. And we keep it real. They did a lot early in Canelo's career, right? They were promoting the guy. They put the belt on him and gleefully said, "Hey, sell seats." I mean, that's all we had him fight Matthew Haddon for the belt. Like, you know what I mean? We didn't care if he didn't make the contracted weight. Like, we want the belt on him. He's a superstar. You know what I mean? That's literally what Suleiman said, Jose. Like,
I forgot about that, Matthew Haddon.
Yeah,
I think I was a junior in high school when that fight happened. Him and Matthew Hatton. It was a long time ago.
Well, Jose Suleiman on Mexican television was called out by Marquez, ironically, and he literally just said, "Look, I mean, he's a superstar. Like, we need to put belts on superstars." That's what he said. And even if you privately think that, I don't think they should be like. It just seems like they don't even hide it anymore. In other words, you know what I mean? And I think that's a problem.
Oh no, at the Ring magazine, we've been having to come up with different names for titles. So we've been using secondary title, and it got to the point where I even had to use the words tertiary title. It's got ridiculous, but now, yeah, because it's 3 levels down. But now I was just told no one cares. Like, we're not recognizing those belts anymore. So we only go for the the super duper champion at this point.
All right. Well, Ryan, I'm gonna give you give us one last word, just on your whole feeling of this. Do you think this fight gets made?
I think this fight gets made. I mean,
maybe for October, right? Probably for October now.
I really hope they make it for September 18th. You got to fake Mexican Independence Day, and this wouldn't be the first time that a deal wasn't made in Mexican Independence Day for Canelo, and that led to a lot of harsh comments from his fellow countrymen. I feel like Canelo was personally bothered by that, honestly, because I know he carries that, and especially because you remember when Gennady Golovkin was saying, "Well, I have more Mexican fans than him," and that didn't go so well. Right. And I think Canelo wants to make the fight for September 18th, even though they may not have enough time to quote unquote promote. But you're the biggest star in boxing. That gives you huge leverage, and I don't think they should use that as an excuse to push the fight back. I think they'll be just fine having it on September 18th, as long as they get it done within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Ryan O'Hara Sports on Twitter and Ring Magazine. Appreciate your time, man. Really appreciate it.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, Ryan.
See you, man.
And now we got Big Tree in the building. Halestormsports, the Halestormsports reunion. What do y'all think about all this? Hale, you're pretty much a casual fan right now.
And I'm super casual.
Tree, I don't know if you've crossed over from hardcore boxing fan to casual fan, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. But I think the reason I know so many people that 5-10 years ago were big boxing fans that I talked to that are like now, they don't follow boxing much besides the big fights, is because of stuff like this. It's because of clauses and contracts and drug testing and promoters and networks, and you throw all this stuff. There are too many obstacles to make big fights. It's easier. Hell, we talk about this all the time. If you have a basketball game, a football game on one corner, a baseball game on one corner, and a fight on another corner, everybody's naturally going to gravitate towards the fight. Except boxing is so absurd. The business side of it is so absurd that everybody goes to the other 3 sports. In the boxing
because there's no fight, because they're just standing in a circle negotiating the fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that guy's gonna fight or what? Well, first of all, I want to know. I mean, because he's got Reeboks on, but I'm sponsored. He needs to wear some Nikes before he fights me. You know what I mean? Plus, there's too many rocks in his cocker. We need to get a broom. We need to sweep that away a little bit. Man, maybe we should go over to the grass over here a little bit. Let's and then start negotiating. Yeah, of course, people are gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna watch these dudes play ball over here later. You know what I mean? It's the way it is.
What do you think about this whole state of boxing, Hill?
Yeah, I mean, just to your point, boxing has an inherent advantage on every other sport that's existed because it's the most barbaric yet beautiful sport. The thing that can stop it from being incredibly entertaining is making decisions behind the scenes. I mean, the sport, people saying that for like 300 years, the fact that it's been in some odd.
Hell, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up. Can you hear me?
I got you now.
Okay. So like this year, the NBA is celebrating its 75th season, right? I mean, so that's like 1/5 of the years that it's been around. So it's going to naturally have its ups and downs, but stuff like this is completely ridiculous. When you are the cash cow, you are the cash cow, right? We've also Oscar and whoever, right? So Canelo is carrying the sport. If you want to fight him, you basically just got to bow down and make it happen. Now, I was listening intently, though. I do understand about the injury clause. That was kind of nuts. Long before I was a casual fan, I've actually read a few fight contracts or 7, and I've seen some crazy stuff in there. I can understand why that would make Plant hesitant, but dude, this is a chance of a lifetime. I mean, if you think you can beat him, go in there and beat his ass. Like, one last thing. Who was it that I think it was Zab? Remember when Zab went to St. Louis, right, and got his belts back, right? Like, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you think you can really beat Canelo, take all the whatever walk-in furs, his size ring, take all that stuff. You know what I mean? Who cares? You have a different font than him on the poster. None of that matters. Because if you beat Canelo, then in turn you become Canelo. That's the whole point of the sport. So looking at it, Plant, he may have just literally blown an opportunity of a lifetime. Yeah,
and one thing quick on that Zab Judah fighting St. Louis, he had bodyguards at the door at his hotel. I mean, he had he checked in with another name. I mean, they were after him in St. Louis. I mean, he went into the Devil's Den to get those belts back. So props to Zab Judah. But I want to throw this out there, and Hale, you'll appreciate this because you know I'm the Google search king. I did some Google searching earlier. Okay, Caleb Plant, our guy Caleb Plant. I call him Caleb Houseplant now because houseplants can't handle heat. They got to stay indoors in artificial areas. So Caleb Plant, there are 17 divisions in boxing, not counting Bridger weight. We don't count Bridger weight. Made up division.
What the hell is Bridger weight?
The fuck? First of all, Alex, that division was named after a child, a kid that saved his sister from some rabid dogs. Okay, he saved his sister from some rabid dogs. He went viral.
That sounds like the story of Achilles.
All these scars, right? And he took some pictures. The WBC sent him some belts. His last name's Bridger or first name, one or the other.
His first name
Bridger weight. So Calix is against kids. The little boys. They got attacked by rabid dogs. He was defending his sister, brother.
It's a new division they made between cruiserweight and heavyweight, I beyelieve.
Are you serious? Oh, this is real.
It's awful.
Are you against kids too, Hale? Or are you going to support the division?
Whoa.
You got to support the division to support the child, brother.
And look, I
have 4 kids, but at a distance. You know what I mean? I got to make sure I answer that correctly. Like, hell, you for the kids? Like, whoa, hold them down.
No, I have a theory that the WBC.
Catch your predator, D-style. What's going on?
I have a theory that the WBC named this division after this kid, so to discourage people from criticizing it. You know what I mean? They always got to have the kids in the avatars. You know those people? That's what the WBC is doing.
8 weight classes. 8 weight classes, 13 rounds.
Yeah. I thought D-Style was joking about that when he first told me. I really did, and I looked it up, and it's really named after a kid named Bridger who got attacked by dogs. It's incredible.
Hey, he was defending his sister. You guys need to support.
Once again, boxing. It's just
shout out to D-Style, man.
Isn't that a good way to support a kid, though?
I was getting at this. No, it's not.
Was that how much that kid weighed, or what?
Brother, big sister or something went up. Get out.
Wait, I don't think the WBC is giving him a dime out of any of those sanction fees, by the way.
Tree brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Did the kid weigh 200 pounds or something?
Yeah, was that his weight? Is that why they made it that?
They're just naming a division after
That's
him.
a big-ass kid.
Or was that
He was a little kid, bro. He was a little kid. He defended his sister was getting attacked by dogs. He defended his sister, saved his sister's life, came out with all these scars, the surgery. You had to have like 4 or 5 surgeries. Went viral on the internet. The UFC sent him a belt. The WBC sent him a belt. They were calling him a champion. And then Mauricio Suleiman said, you know what? I'm going to name a division after you.
The kid didn't even like boxing. He got
only boxing, dude. Only boxing.
But look, I did some research earlier. Okay. Our guy's Caleb Houseplant. There are 17 divisions in boxing. I looked at the top 10 in each division. That's
There's a new
170
one called
fighters.
atom weight, by the way. Like it's like right below minimum weight. But go ahead.
But there's 170 fighters. I looked up. Top 10 in each division. Guess how many? Guess how many are white Americans? Guess how many?
Wait, what? Probably one.
One.
Hold
His
up.
name is
Caleb
Caleb.
Plant.
His name is Caleb Plant.
Hold up. Caleb Plant's white?
Yeah, what do you mean? Do you even know
Bro,
what Caleb Plant looks like?
Hold on, dude. Is he white like the tight end from Kansas City? Because he got a fresh
No,
fade.
Definitely.
every time I hear Caleb Plant,
Oh, he's whiter than this piece of paper, brother. Like he's white, bro.
He's a white
picture-
guy
I
named
picture
Caleb
Caleb-
Plant.
I picture Caleb Plant looking like Joe Calix all the time, bro. Like I don't know why. Every time I hear that,
Hell, think of me 15 years ago. That's Caleb Plant. He has the John B. He has the John B. Fade full beard.
the John B. bring it back.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
because I've seen him and like he got the like I grew up around some black people fade. Like he doesn't have I go to a supercuts fade. He got
went to
like
the hood
my
barbershop.
barber's name
He's
is
from
Dante
Nashville.
Fade. You know what
He's
I
from
mean?
the capital of the whites. What do you mean? Like I am Caleb Plant. I'm from Nashville. You know,
He's from Cashville, which, by the way, I'll be there this weekend. And I go to Tennessee often. And look, Tennessee sports rabid fans look great people, and they support Caleb Plant. But outside of Tennessee, casual people do not know Caleb Plant. My whole point is,
No one knows he's white.
How many white people are in America?
bro, some people
Right?
think he's the punter of the Titans. Like, they're like, is that our punter? Like, who is that? Because he was wearing like a jersey, and people are like, that's our punter, right? Like,
So
no,
basically,
bro.
he's like Kelly Pavlik, but he's from a black neighborhood.
And with no punching power, though. You know what I mean? He
Jab.
got no punching power. Like, you know what I mean? So-
Jab.
What I'm saying is, think of how either you have the personality of a pet rock, or your team is doing a horrible job marketing you. If you're the only one,
That's a good point.
One. All right, this is a majority white country. You're one. You're the one white American fighter. Like remember when Mike Lee had the Subway commercials and everybody's like, how the hell did that happen? And I'm sitting next to people at the football game and like, you follow boxing? Is he good? I'm like, no, he's like 2-0. They're like, well, how do you get a Subway deal? He's the only active white fighter. That's how he got it.
That was a joke, right? Well, he's white. That's why. White privilege.
Caleb Plant is a unicorn. He's the only one. And they still can't market this guy.
Yeah,
All
maybe they need to hit him, my guy Paul Rosenberg, to learn how to market them or something. But my whole thing is this, right? Is okay. Obviously, the sport is about champions, but also
Joe Smith, Calix, don't forget
All
about
right,
Joe
we got two then. We got
Smith.
Joe Smith.
He forgot about Joe Smith, the hardworking man. What's going on over here? Go ahead.
We got two.
So where does Plant go from here? That's what I want to know. Like
nowhere.
That's what I'm saying. Is like so think about it. Him fighting Canelo, looking good, going the distance and losing is essentially a win for him, right? I mean, the only thing that looks bad for him is getting stopped. But if he gets stopped late, no one's going to look down on him. People will give him props, right? Like if he goes in there and bangs, fights smart, gets stopped in the 10th, people are like, hey, I'd like to see Caleb Plant fight again. Like to me, he's such an unknown and such an underdog, fighting literally, the face of the entire sport. He's almost in a can't lose situation unless he gets knocked out within 2 rounds, right? And people are like, oh, I can't believe I paid money to watch this. But as long as he looks good and fights good, it's like it's a win-win for him, let alone if he pulls off the upset. What if he wins, but, like it's ruled a loss for him, but all the fans know that he won? Like, even still, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like this is one of those things where I understand there's these crazy clauses and what have you, and it's easy for me, someone who's not going to get in the ring, right? But what I'm saying is this is career suicide. This makes no sense at all.
He should have told Al to step aside and let Eddie Hearn do his magic and give me my $10 million and let's get the fight on. Once Al Heyman came into the equation,
Al Heyman doesn't think he could win, Calix.
It all blew apart. So you think he's sabotaging this and he's gonna go fight Truax a second time, defend his belt, and continue to milk this and continue to clout chase off Canelo and make easy $2 to $3 million paydays. That's what you think is gonna happen, which is believable.
Hey,
so
wait, shout out to Truax. Great follow on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
Really cool guy.
Great follow on. You know, not exactly Canelo comparatively as an opponent, but he's there. You know, what I'll say is this, right? I mean, Calix is right. Like Caleb Plant. You would think, especially with a lot of the stereotypes out here, is that he's white. He can fight his ass. It's not like he can't fight. By the way, like it's not like I don't think he could beat Canelo, but that's in no way, shape, or form saying he can't fight. Dude could fight. You know what I mean? So the dude could box. He could fight his ass off. No, the dude's got skills with a Z. I heard like that makes it me. He's got some skills and all that. I muted myself somehow. I don't know how, but. At the end of the day, Calix is right. Like, Cali Pavlik said, what you want, had a fan base. Those dudes were following him, okay, like a legion, all right?
Real life.
Ohio was playing Michigan one weekend, and they still went from Youngstown to freaking Las Vegas to see this dude fight, okay? Like 6,000 showed up.
Atlantic City.
And it's not really about like race or like that, but let's be honest, like people identify with who they identify with, you know. He
should be more marketable, D-Style.
He should be way more marketable. Totally. Like they're doing something wrong with this dude. Like the fact that he fought on Fox and couldn't even get 1 million views speaks volumes to me.
Well,
right?
Two things. Real fast. You guys know me. I'd say all the best white fighters stormed the Capitol on January 6th, so they're probably a little busy. But I digress. I warned you guys. No, I'm just joking. But I would dare to say PBC is terrible at individual marketing anyway. And Plan is a perfect example, right? Because what they do is they just do like the cookie cutter way of doing it. But boxing is the most individual sport, right? So to me, take advantage of it. Everyone has their own backstory. So when you have a whole network behind you, like how the hell – okay, first of all, show as many of these guys' fights as as possible. Leave him online, whatever. But like, get into his backstory. I know nothing about him. I just know that he's the guy that passed on making $10 million to fight.
He's got a story, brother. If people know Caleb Plant's story, like you can make a movie about this life,
but they don't.
No, but D-Style, that's what I'm saying is, I am casual, but I'm still a huge sports fan, right? And I know a lot of fighter stories. I know, like. That's what I'm saying is it isn't about the boxing hardcore base, right? Because a hardcore base is going to follow the sport. That's in every sport, football, basketball, baseball, college football, not to get way off topic, is going through like a sea change that we've never seen, right? Like literally just, a changing of the entire guard.
Earth-shattering.
Right, but like people like me, Calix, and Tree that are hardcore college football fans, we don't care. We're still going to follow it. So to me, it isn't even about like growing the sport and all this other stuff. Boxing's fine. It's just that PBC doesn't actually market their fighters as individuals. They just literally like, oh, we have a platform, come and see us fight, right? When to me, that's the backwards way of doing it.
Let me tell you something about Caleb Plant. I mean, I remember the lead of the press conference when he was going to fight Mike Lee, and he fought him on Fox, and I forget what the pay-per-view was. Was it the Spence Porter fight? Like I forget what it was, but he fought on Fox. Okay, which at the time I thought, hey, that's a brilliant move. You know what I mean? But you got to do more than just put the dude on. I like tell the story and all that. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. And here's the thing, I still remember when he looked at Mike Lee at the press conference and he told him, dude, like you ain't shit. Like you got this Subway commercial, you got this education, you got this side money going on. All I fucking got is boxing. And that's why you're not going to beat me. That's what he told. Like that's the type of shit that shouldn't be on boxing scenes. At like one of like the many stories. You know what I mean? This shit should be like on the front page of the Fox Sports page. You know what I mean? Like in my opinion, people will resonate with that because there's a lot of people that depend on their whatever their job is or their career is. That's all they got. And people could relate to that.
Hey, quick point on this before I want to get Tree's thoughts on all this, but as far as Plant goes, man, look at Rolly Romero. We think Rolly Romero's a tool, but let me tell you something. He's out there marketing the hell out of himself. So guess what? Your manager, your promoter's not doing their job. Take matters into your own hands.
He even came out in the movie Ice Age. You know what I mean? Like he's taking matters into his own hand. You know, and all that good
But
stuff.
these
You know what I
now,
mean?
look, there's Twitter, there's Instagram,
Yeah.
perfect for fighters. Like
TikTok,
Caleb
all
Plant
that.
could easily go on there and start wreaking havoc and build up his name and tell his own story. He can be his own promoter, but these fighters are getting so lazy. They think it's just going to drop in their lap. They're all waiting for the Canelo payday to come to them and fall in their lap. Hey, I have a belt over here. I'm in the same division. The Canelo fight's eventually going to come to me. Hey, I'm even a division under Canelo. So the Canelo fight's going to come to me. I mean, look at Charlo. Look at Triple G waiting for Canelo. Everybody's just being lazy, waiting around for Canelo. Take matters into your own hands. People can joke about Rolly Romero all they want. At least he's calling out Tank Davis. At least
Yeah.
he's calling out Devin Haney. At least he's trying to promote himself and mix things up as goofy as we think he is. Some of these guys need to take note.
Yeah,
Take matters into your own hands.
not to get off topic on Caleb, but Rolly out here in Vegas is always around town. I seen him constantly out here. He's came to the job a few times to eat, and that he's a character. The guy's a character in and out. You know, when he's not Instagramming and on your TV, that is him. And I know a lot of people went to school with him, and he's a clown. The dude is your class clown, you know, and it's ridiculous, you know. But he's funny, man. You know, I met him. My first time I met him was at my job, and he was about to fight. I said something like, "Oh, you're not eating. You're not." I said something. You're trying to make weight, huh? You're not eating fries or whatever it was. And oh, you know who I am? I was like, I mean, I know you're from Vegas, bro. That's all. And he got all butthurt, you know, like he's a clown, you know. He's waiting for his food, shadow boxing, acting hard, you know. But it gets people to watch, you know. And like you said, at least he's promoting himself. Whereas you got cats like, you know, I was going to touch on what Scott said on Caleb and the promoting. You know, that's the thing with PBC. I noticed it's like a team. You know, it's an individual sport, but they promote everything as you're a PBC fighter. You know what I'm saying? You're not like saying, oh, this guy's came from, you know, where he came from, his beginnings and all that. No, it's PBC. And maybe a week before they start letting you in on his story. Like at that time, you're not getting anyone interested. You know, I've already made plans Saturday night. I'm not going to watch Caleb fight, you know?
Exactly.
You know, so that's the thing with PBC I've noticed. It's all PBC. It's never the fighter. It's PBC, you know?
And you know what, Tree? I like what you're saying there too, because they always, after the fight, they thank God and then they thank Al Heyman. And then they ask him about a fight. And Caleb Plant did it in his last fight after the Truax fight. He said they asked him directly about Canelo. And he said, I got to go talk to Al Heyman. That was a perfect time for Caleb Plant. Nothing was going on in sports that night. It was a perfect time for him to show out. He had a C-level performance, unfortunately. It was a perfect time for him to show out. And then after the fight, grab the microphone and say, I want Canelo Alvarez for undisputed. It was a perfect time for him to say that. Instead, he puts on a C-level performance and then he shies away from the mic and says, I got to go talk to Al Heyman. It seems like Al Heyman has these guys on a leash. He has them in line and they cannot step out of line. They cannot say anything.
Alex, you know what it is? And again, I am completely casual, but in the past life, I have had some dealings with the infamous Heyman, and they were all good, by the way. Thanks, Al. No, I'm just joking. The thing is he's getting these guys paydays that they've never seen before. And he's actually getting them straight financially post-boxing. And I think that is like literally what hangs over them. My problem, and I agree with both of you, is be appreciative of the guy, but be your own man. Like, this isn't the 80s. To your point, there's TikTok, Snapchat, all types of stuff I don't even know about yet, right? Get on all this stuff. Promote yourself. Post your own fight videos. I mean, dude, you can make a mini movie on your cell phone. Have your friend that doesn't have a job that kind of hangs around, have him film you all day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, create
with his entourages, why not, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, create your own momentum. And I just think a lot of these guys are, you know, to your point, whether it's laziness, whether it's just they're not thinking outside the box, whatever it is. Honestly, I have no idea, but it's ridiculous to see because there's no way that I'm going to go in there and exchange pieces of my soul and fight literally for a living and leave all of my career in someone else's hands. Like, that seems backwards. They're actually doing the hardest part, right? The hardest part is getting up at 5, running, egg whites, no sex, and then fighting another grown human that's trying to kill you. To me, that's the hardest part. The easiest part is to talk shit, right? So, like, that's what I don't get is like,
how do you not look at the fighters that quote unquote made it, right? And it's like, okay, even if that's not your personality, at least be yourself.
And
Here's the thing,
like
though.
this, though. But hey, wait, these
All right,
cool. Stuff like this, like Porter goes on his own podcast and starts promoting the fight, and then he erases it within hours. So somebody told him to take it down. Regis Prograde comes on Twitter last month and starts talking about PBC was promised them this, and then they didn't come through. The next day, he puts out an apology. Right. So there's somebody behind the scenes saying, "Nope."
Yeah, it's like,
don't do that.
I'm gonna fight Crawford. Like, no, you're not. What the fuck are you talking about? Where's that shit? All right,
hey,
get the fuck out of here. You ain't fighting nobody.
JoJo's calling out everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love
it.
And look, he took the fight with Fortuna short notice.
Hey, even though I am out of the sport, I still have like a pinky toe in. His next fight is probably going to be Staples Center.
Staples Center against Ryan Garcia, hopefully.
Nah,
Devin.
Nah.
I mean,
I don't know.
You should break it right here. I know you got sources.
Yeah, man.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Do you believe what just happened? He was like, he started to dangle the carrot out there. He's like, nope.
That's
we know you got sources. Well, at least we know. At least we know JoJo Diaz. Heard it here first. Is fighting at Staples Center next. We know that.
Insert name.
I wanted to make this point though. I think we need to be careful as for what we're asking for, right? And I'm not necessarily saying any of you are wrong or fans in general, but I'm not an advocate of fakeness, right? And what I mean by that is, just talking shit just because I got to sell the fight, or like we don't need to go like full blown WWE cutting promos on dudes. Like I don't think that's necessary. I think trash talking works for some guys, and for some it just doesn't. I mean, let's just be honest. De La Hoya wasn't a big trash talker. He was one of the worst trash talkers that ever lived. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, this guy literally said in the ring, like, everybody thinks that I'm just, this nice guy, but in the ring, I'm an animal. I'm an animal in the ring. Like, okay.
Floyd is a terrible trash talker.
And he's a terrible promoter, but that's what he said in the ring. He's like, I'm an animal in the ring. I feel like a beast. Like, okay, brother, but here's the thing, though. All right? He was soft-spoken, but he was still, there was something marketable about him because he knew what his strong suits were. His strong base was women, right? So they marketed him to women, right? They put him in the Sun Bowl. I've never seen so many Latinas, not Latinos, Latinas in the Sun Bowl like that, okay?
Where's the Sun Bowl?
It was here in El Paso, Texas.
Arizona State.
You were there? You were there, D-Town?
No, I was working out of town at the time, but
whoa.
But you could
you're
tell.
Out of state or you're out of town?
Out of state. I was in New Mexico.
We don't believe you.
Right here, though, But anyway, the point I'm making is De La Hoya was a big draw, and he didn't trash talk. Sugar Ray Leonard was a big draw, and he didn't trash talk.
Okay,
it's not necessarily about trash talking. I think we need authenticity.
Those are special. Those are outliers.
Yeah.
No. But you could still market yourself and be authentic.
Great. But also that was also back when boxing was a top 2 or 3 sport in the country. True. See, like that's what I'm saying is like Tom Brady is finally showing a personality. Aaron Rodgers is a weirdo. Peyton Manning has like dry humor. But guess what? The NFL markets the league. That's what I'm saying is like that's the difference. A lot of these hoopers are absolute cornballs, basketballnews.com, but the NBA markets the league. Nike markets them. In boxing, there's no league to push you. So I'm not saying Plant should be out of character, but what I'm saying is like show your family then. Do something like
this is make me care. I get you guys. I get the point 100%, but we just need guys to be authentic. The truth is, here's the truth, okay? All that cookie cutter shit he talked about is fake. That's why it doesn't work, right? This whole, it's all love. We're just here. May the best man win. That's not how they talk in the gym. Okay, that's not how they really feel. Okay, just say you want to whoop his ass. That's really what you want to do. Okay, that dude wants to knock your head off. So tell me how you really feel. We just need him to be authentic. That's all. We need authenticity. I think that's the word, maybe amplified authenticity, but that's different than fakeness. Like I think people could tell when someone's just being fake. Like De La Hoya right now is trying too hard. Well, I want to fight Canelo. I think me and Canelo could be a really good fight. I mean, what does Canelo have? He only has power. Me, I'm a better fighter than him. Like, yeah, nobody wants to see it, brother. Right? You know what I mean?
First of all, great. You do a great Oscar.
Great Oscar. Minus the cocaine.
When I was in the ring,
it's because
Vargas thought I was a wimp, but the reality is I'm an animal in the ring. I'm a beast.
Hey, it's because D Styles wearing panties underneath.
Hey, De La Hoya, I heard De La Hoya really sold out a press conference the other day, right?
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah. And by the way,
Oscar's back in the gym though.
Everybody hit the like button as you come in. And boxing trivia is coming in about a half hour, 20, 30 minutes. Run PMC will be defending his title. Run PMC, he's in the chat somewhere. He will be defending his Power Punchers Boxing Trivia Diamond Belt tonight. He's going for his third straight week. Third straight. 3 out of 4.
By the way, Ricardo
Mayorga was named after a kid?
By the way, real quick. I think Canelo, the reason the Canelo thing works, the English thing, is because that's really him. And I believe it's him. Like when it says, "Get the fuck out of here, man!" Like that's him. Like when he does and I know it's real because he did this shit. You know what I mean? When he's like, "Get the fuck out of here, man!" That's okay. That's real right there. He didn't try to make that look cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. When he says, "Hey, you want payday," like that's him, and that's why it works. Ricardo Mayorga definitely was amping it up, but that's him. You know what I mean? Like, yo le voy a partir la madre a este cabrón. Este cabrón no tiene nada para mí. Es una pinche muñeca. Yo le voy a enseñar que yo soy el hombre y él es la mujer. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what he would do. And then he had the badass translator. The best translator for Ricardo Mayorga was that old woman, because she would like it just made it sound more menacing. You know what I mean? Like, yo le voy a partir la madre a este cabrón. Le voy a partir la madre. Dile a tu mujer que te dé en la mañana porque ya no te va a querer después de lo que yo te voy a hacer a ti. What did she say? He said that he's going to fuck you up. And this is an old lady saying this. So you know what I mean? Like, he's going to fuck you up. And you better your woman better make love to you in the morning because after he's done with you, she's not going to be able to look at you. You know, like shit like that. You know, so I'm saying.
Dude, you need to. D-Style, you need to go on tour and do
By the way, they can't read the private chat. You got to post that on YouTube. No. But Christine, he's saying what's up. You know what I mean?
I know that, D-Style. Hey, what I was gonna say is, first of all, watching the fights used to kill me. The translator would talk for 3 minutes, and then he'd come back and be like, "Yes, June." I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, there's like 3 paragraphs, and like, come on, you know what I'm saying? I was like,
the best was this, like Ringing Down would say like the nicest things about people, and the translator would totally talk shit. The same way, like Pedro de Lara would be like, mira, yo quiero pelear con los mejores. Canelo es uno de los mejores, y vamos a hacer una buena pelea. Which translates like, I want to fight the best. Canelo's the best. I'm the best. And like, may the best man win, right? The translator would totally butcher it. Like, yeah, he's saying Canelo ain't shit. You know, he's gonna beat the fuck out of Canelo. Canelo's has to beat. You know, to serve from. He's gonna take him to the Cuban School of Boxing. You know what I mean? And he would just be standing there like, all quiet. They don't know what the fuck his translator's saying, right? And everybody would be like, damn, bro. You know?
I've always wondered though, like they say 80 words in Spanish and then they come back with like 5 words. I was like, there's no way he said that. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
Never get the translator that's friends with the fighter. They'll add shit, bro. Like they just add shit. They just throw shit in there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying
what they wanted him to say.
Shout out to In the Ring with Christine, man. They're doing big things out in Japan, out in the Olympics.
Hey, Chocolatito would be like, you know, in Spanish, like, nomás le quiero dar gracias a Dios y que salimos bien todos, vamos a regresar con nuestra familia. You know, let's just think, I would just want to thank God. We're both healthy. We're going to go back to our families. The fucking translator would be like, I want my rematch. I want this fight. I got robbed. Let's do a fight again. And I want to thank God.
Hey, I was gonna say, hey, real fast. I think Danny Garcia's dad needs a translator.
Yeah. and rehab.
Hey,
Speaking of Danny Garcia in Spanish, remember when he fought in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember when Radio Raheem was over in like China? What was that
China.
fight? Like, this was the greatest promotion ever. I swear to God, he's held at gunpoint. The funniest thing though is he's actually a really cool dude. He's like Dave Chappelle's best friend. It's random, I know, but
I know, but he was out in China doing the hostage video. They're treating us well out here. Everything's good. We're eating 3 times a day.
Yes, I'm getting 3 meals. I walked the yard once this week. I was like,
hey, you know the best translating was like they were so full of shit, bro. Like when I would watch HBO, you know what I mean? They always said the same. I don't know if you guys ever noticed. It was always the same shit. You know, you're better than him. Come on. He's gonna quit. He's gonna get tired. They're gonna rob us. Like that. That's how they would say the whole time, bro.
And shout out to that U.S. boxing team out there, man, doing big things in the ring.
Right.
Bring home some
love
medals
out there to Team USA quarterfinals. Here we come. Last year on the Spanish College of Panic, Christine said, "We're bringing home some medals." She said, like that's what she said. You know what I mean? And here we come, man. We're coming for those medals. Shine up those medals for Team USA, please. Just
shine them up. Shine them up. Give them to us. Bring it back. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna. It's destiny.
I want to see some gold, though, brother. Like we need to see some gold. Only Clarissa Shields and Ward in the last 20 years have brought home gold.
I know, but that shows you how good that staff is because they're gonna do it. They're gonna bring it back, and it's a long time coming. So that's good to see. Tree, I wanted to talk to you about Pacquiao, my man. He's legacy hunting. You think he's gonna pull this fight off with Spence? How you think it's gonna go?
Man, I don't think, man. I'm gonna get hurt for saying this, man. All my boys and anyone else that's probably watching, listening. I don't think he's gonna do it against Spence. I think time is up. Father Time catches all, and it's right now. He's at that point, man. I mean, what was his last fight? Was what, Thurman?
Thurman 2 years ago.
I remember I was at that fight.
Win.
Yeah, no, he looked great. I was at that fight, man. That was awesome. I think it was my first. Might have been the only Pacquiao fight I was able to see live, and that was great. He looked good, but I mean, Spence isn't Thurman, or Thurman isn't no Spence. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's a beast.
Yeah, he's the speed. I see a lot of people saying how Pacquiao is so fast still. I mean, he's not as fast as he used to be. I don't care what anyone says. Like he's slick. He's still slick. But the speed, I don't think is going to be there. And will the power be enough to stop Spence? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a good fight, though. I think it can be made to be an entertaining fight if all goes right, So I'm right now. I'm leaning on Spence, but money wise, depending on what the line is, I'm looking at Manny. Manny's is always especially if he's an underdog, good money spent.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, and me and Hale talk about betting all the time. In multiple sports, particularly college football, but that money line over the past month,
it's just narrowing.
I mean, Pacquiao was plus 350. Now it was down. Yeah. Last I checked, it was like plus 175. He's getting better. He's getting better odds. This is getting closer to 60-40 territory, 55-45 territory. So Vegas is giving this guy a shot to win this fight, and that's only because Hale knows this. When a line moves that much, this far out, that's sharp money. That's smart money. That's not small money that's going to Vegas on fight weekend and moving a line. Right. So much money's coming in on the underdog. That's sharp money this far out. So that tells me they know people in training camps. Maybe they see that Pacquiao sharp. Maybe they see that Spence, maybe not so much. So that tells me that Pacquiao's a live dog in this fight. Maybe they're seeing also what happened to Spence against Porter if you take the fight to this guy, make him fight off of his back foot where he's not coming forward and using his size against you. Maybe that Pacquiao can show his angles, be offensive minded, use his feints that he always uses, keep Spence on his heels, and make this a close fight because this is not going to be a knockout fight. This is going 12.
that's definitely the way I see Manny pulling it off, is him actually being the aggressor, coming out at different angles, almost like a pit bull, in your face, in your chest, and making it, just making, like you said, Spence fight on his heel. If he comes backwards, man, I just saw a ghost, you know what I'm saying? But that's the way I see Manny pulling it off, and I hope he does. I think it'll be a great story to pull this off, to cap off that legacy, the career-ending legacy right there.
It would, and we got a star in the building.
Damn,
you don't have to introduce me all over again, Calix. You know what I mean? It's just,
from Friday, from Rush Hour, and Rush Hour 2. We got Chris Tucker in the building.
Money talks.
What's happening? How y'all doing, man?
We got Errol Spence in the building, ladies and gentlemen. So
what you sipping on?
Hey, the Don Cornelius of Blog Talk. Factoid Hour, the smoothest podcaster ever.
Hey, you still a Rams fan, brother? Or did you give up on the Rams?
You already know, man. It's fuck Stan Kroenke over here all day long. Those things don't change, man. We don't deal with the Rams. The Rams don't deal with St. Louis. Feel me?
Right. So it's all the Cardinals now, right? All day, every day.
It was always all about the Cardinals. Just ask Joe. He's still dealing with them terrible Cubs.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now we sipping that good. It's just that vanilla crown, man. We're on this crown roll tonight, post work. You know how it goes.
Vanilla Crown. I'm rolling with the Heineken tonight and some water. I got
a Modelo. Got a little Modelo right now.
Right.
Well, we got Factoid in the building. Factoid. What do you think about the Pacquiao fight? What do you think?
Manny Pacquiao's fighting again?
He's fighting.
He's fighting Errol Spence, brother.
So I'm guessing you're.
Rush Hour 3. You know what I mean?
You don't think he's got a shot?
Sure. I mean, Pacquiao, I don't see why he wouldn't have a shot. I mean, Errol Spence is the younger, bigger, stronger man. I would expect him to win, but where's the fight at? Where are they fighting at?
Vegas.
I mean, it's Pacquiao, could steal something favorable with the judges. I don't know, man. I have no idea. I didn't even know Manny was still fighting, man. I thought he was running for president.
I think he is at the end of this year. That's the plan, from what I'm hearing, is that he's up for presidency at the end of the year, man.
Is Freddie Roach still his trainer?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So here's like the thing with Pacquiao, right? Like if Spence is on the southpaw stance, Pacquiao's moving this way, right? This is where he's moving, right? To Spence's right, Pacquiao's left, right? And it's always been like, it's not conventional for southpaw to move that direction, but it works for Manny, because he's compact, he gets slow, but that's why he's always been vulnerable to the right hand, because he's not moving away from the right hand. You know what I mean? He's always open to the right hand from his opponent, right? Now, my only thing is this, like, I have no clue how either of these guys are going to deal with an elite southpaw in front of them, right? Because Spence fought Van Heerden, but it's Van Heerden. Like, you know what I mean? Like the dude sounds out of a Dracula movie or some shit. Like, I don't know who that. Like, you know what I mean? He's from South Africa. He's known for having a sparring match and getting the best of Conor McGregor in sparring. Okay, right? And then Pacquiao fought David Diaz years ago. You know what I mean? That was a lightweight, but it's not. If we're honest, though, Diaz wasn't even the best Diaz at lightweight. Okay, like he was the third best Diaz, right? In the lightweight division. So, but he was a good fighter, though. Don't get me wrong, out of Chicago, and Manny sliced him up, no doubt. But they've never fought another elite level southpaw, right? And Spence, unless he somehow goes orthodox, which I doubt, he's not going to have that straight right to use against Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting.
Interesting, but Pacquiao throws so many feints. He's still got those. He's still going to have his stamina, I do believe, although the reflexes and the speed, as Tree said, aren't going to be there, obviously, at 42 and a half years old. But Spence has shown some vulnerabilities against offensive-minded fighters. Sean Porter had his moments. Danny Garcia had his moments. You got to remember, Errol Spence nailed his Ferrari into a brick wall at 95 miles an hour just a couple years ago. All right. And he hasn't fought a Manny Pacquiao since. So how is he going to deal with Manny Pacquiao when he's constantly throwing feints, constantly showing him angles? That's the type of fight that we're going to have here. A 12-round fight where Pacquiao, a flashier fighter, is going to be able to put some rounds in the books. And I think we got ourselves a close fight here. But you got to remember, Pacquiao hasn't been on the favorable end of a lot of decisions. All right. We saw that when he went to Australia. We saw that with some of them. Juan Marquez fights. We saw that with the Tim Bradley.
Watch your mouth, Calix.
we saw that with the Tim Bradley, the first fight.
It wasn't
obvious.
Wasn't the Thurman fight split decision?
It was split decision.
Yeah.
And I think Manny had that pretty clearly too, in my opinion. You know, so he doesn't get those decisions.
I gave Spence 5 rounds in that fight, but
Spence, you mean Thurman?
No, Spence. No, I'm sorry, Thurman against Pacquiao. I gave Thurman 5 rounds.
So you had a 115.
I think people forget that
fight clearly.
There was some quiet rounds in there that I feel, Thurman won, and people forgot about it because Manny had all the big moments. You know, the knockdown hurt him to the body. The rounds Manny won, it was like clear and exciting, but Thurman won some quiet rounds in there that I think people forgot. You know, I know some people even gave Thurman 6 rounds, and the knockdown was the difference, so it was a pretty close fight from what I remember, which is expected. I mean, Thurman was, you could argue the man of the division when Manny beat him. So,
yeah, I don't remember too much. I was under a few beers at that time.
Yeah.
Just the
then that's what the judge said, that the one that had your mouth up by like all those rounds. He's like, the fight fans, all they do is drink and party it up the whole fight. They don't score it like me. I'm saying.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I was watching on 3 screens. You know what I mean? One is 30 seconds behind the other. You know what I mean? So he can break it. I actually think Manny's going to win the fight. And I think it's going to be a decision. I don't know, man. I'm not going to say I think Spence is overrated, but every time I watch him fight, I'm always waiting for these spectacular moments that I hear about.
He underwhelms.
And what I want to know is, will he commit to winning a fight with his jab? Because that's what it'll take. And it's like, you know what it's like? It's like a passing coach who won't commit to win a low-scoring football game just running the ball, right? It's like, I think Spence won't jab his way to a victory. He's going to be vulnerable. I think he's going to get countered a lot. Manny has maybe the sneakiest uppercut I've ever seen, because it's not really like a true uppercut. It's like, you know how he is. Dude's a spaz. He's all over the place. So, like, it's like a half hook, spin out. I don't even know what to call it, right? But I could definitely see the first few rounds being awkward. D-Styles point, southpaw versus southpaw, being that way. But I actually think Manny's going to win the fight. Unless he's just like gotten super, super old.
Do you guys think the hook? I honestly believe whoever has the most success with the hook is going to win this fight.
I think whoever is most successful at putting their opponent on their heels is going to win the fight. So, like, if Spence can use his size and continue to come forward and have Pacquiao uncomfortable, he'll win the fight. But I think what's going to happen is Pacquiao is going to be able to get Spence in a lot of spots on his heels by the constant feints that we always see with Pacquiao. I don't think Spence has seen anything like Pacquiao before.
Dude,
I did a video the other day. It was the top 10 Manny Pacquiao victories. And some of these victories that weren't even on there, like the David Diaz victory, the Lucas Matisse, Adrian Broner, some of the Marquez, the Marquez victory.
That's right.
Doesn't think he has those. But he had like 10 fights, dude, that are better than a lot of these guys' wins that aren't even in the top 10. So that's the experience that we talk about too. In big fights, he's seen guys like Errol Spence before. He's been in fights like this. Legend, but that's what I want to throw out too is it a generational thing like right now where the fighters of this era, although talented, although skilled, they're not as tested, more pampered. So when they step, that's why guys like Pacquiao are able to hang around a little bit more. That's why guys like Bernard, along with strength and conditioning, that's evolved as well. But Bernard Hopkins, that's why these guys are able to stay around for a little while longer, because these guys the new generation of guys, although talented, aren't as tested, and you know what I'm saying? Like they're not. The torch doesn't seem to be passed as easy as it has been in the past.
How much of that, though?
Manny
How much
comes
of that
from
is the
a.
business of boxing?
Yeah,
How much of that is the business of boxing, though? Right? Whether it's the younger guys or the older guys who can still pick and choose who they want to fight, when they want to fight, how it's going to work out, and so guys don't get tested because they're being brought along slow. We can look at a guy like Gary Russell Jr. For crying out loud. Gary Russell Jr. still hasn't fought any damn body. Right? We're talking about he's had that WBC belt for what, 5-6 years, whatever it is. And then you got older guys like Pacquiao who, once you get to the top, your promoter, they're controlling that. You still get to fight who you want. So you get a combination of things with training. Yeah, the Bernard Hopkins, the Manny Pacquiaos can fight longer. But still, the young guys who aren't willing, and I think that's a generational thing with a lot of millennials too, they want to be friends. They're buddy with each other first before they want to get in the ring and actually do something. They'd rather team up, right, and make that money in that way if they can, than have to actually fight one another. And so that's a problem, I think, as well.
You brought up Gary Russell Jr. Another guy is Tank Davis. You know, I love what's going on with Tank Davis, that he's 25-0, 24 knockouts. I want to go all in. I want to be a fan, but fight somebody. He hasn't fought. He's been pro Factoid for 8 years. He hasn't fought anybody.
Mario Barrios, bro.
He hasn't fought. He's fought in 3 divisions. He's been pro 8 years. He hasn't fought anybody in the top 5 in any division yet. That's
Tank
how
Davis?
they're pampering these guys.
Tank Davis?
Tank Davis.
I mean, the fight against Leo Santa Cruz wasn't the top 5 guy?
No, Leo Santa Cruz
He had to
wasn't.
move up like 2 classes or 2 weight classes.
He wasn't top 5 in that division. No.
In
It's
that
a hell of a
division?
knockout, but
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, Mario Barrios wasn't top 5 in that division either.
Barrios
Like,
was like
here's
8-9.
my
I do like
thing
that
though
they
is
got
I
Tank in
don't.
Atlanta though.
I don't know
Yes.
if that
Yes.
matters in this fight, because I do feel that Spence has, you know, I think he does have a good resume in his young career. I do think, you know, he fought Cal Brook at a time that a lot of guys didn't want to fight Cal Brook. He went to England to fight Cal Brook. You know, we got a lot of guys who don't want to leave their country. He did it, and he went over there and snatched that belt. And he fought a battle tested guy like Porter, knocked him down late, and showed me a lot in that fight. You know, I think he dominated Danny Garcia right after that car crash. I think he showed me a lot in that fight as well. You know what I mean? So I think the beautiful thing about this fight is that Manny didn't pick some pampered dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's facing somebody. Well, all the biggest criticisms about Manny were always, he fights guys off losses, and but he fights guys that aren't coming off good performances, or like they always move the goalposts because Manny just kept doing great thing after great thing, and you got to keep moving it. But at this point, they can't move anything. At this point, it's even the guys that usually criticize Manny, they're not even making videos about this fight because they know there's nothing to criticize. You know what I mean?
Manny's a legend, dude. He's a legend.
So what I want to ask the panel is this: like, Manny has really been doing this, and I don't think it's an accident. I think it's a tactic. He's constantly praising Spence for being this warrior. You know, like, he's better than Mayweather. Mayweather ran around the ring. Spence doesn't run around the ring. You know, Spence is a real fighter. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's really going out of his way to say, Spence, he cares about the fans. He's going to go toe-to-toe. And that's why I picked Spence. And I actually think he's doing that because he wants Spence to come out and box. I don't think he wants Spence to come out and bum rush him. I don't think he wants him to use the size. I don't think he wants Spence on the front foot. He wants Spence on the back foot. I think that's what he wants, right? And Spence, I think in Spence's mind is like, okay, you want toe-to-toe? No, I'm gonna show you I can box, Manny. I'm gonna show you I can box. Right, and it's a similar tactic that Ray Leonard used against Hagler, right? Like Leonard kept telling the media that Hagler's a great boxer, guys. I mean, I know everybody talks about Hagler, about he's going to use his size, but let me tell you, his boxing really is underrated. You know what I mean? And he made Hagler come out and fight in a way that I don't think was favorable to him. You know, because he was trying to prove a point. I don't know about that, but I scored. I don't know. It's close. It's a close fight.
Leonard definitely lost to second Hearns fight.
Hagler gave away a lot of early rounds. Even if he scored for Hagler, you have to admit that. Like he gave away early rounds because he was being stubborn. You know what I mean? Okay. So if he can get Spence to be stubborn and like, no, I could box. I'm going to show you I could box, Manny. Okay, give it a shot because you ain't Floyd Mayweather, brother. Like unless you're Floyd Mayweather, boxing against Manny ain't going to work, and Manny still caught Floyd flush in the third. You know what I mean?
D-Style, let me ask you this. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, it's funny people saying that Floyd ran because, I mean, like, anyway.
Walk him down. Floyd walked him down.
Well, no. I mean, Floyd, we all know was not the most entertaining fighter ever. But it's just funny that, like, he got the running tag when in actuality he would literally make people miss and pivot. My whole problem with Floyd was he would never finish guys, then always say that he hurt his hand. That was so frustrating because he would have guys visibly hurt. Like he had Cotto. You know what I'm saying? Like he had multiple guys hurt late, and then he would run. Like you know how Floyd is. He would fill you out 2 rounds, but then 3 through 8, he would stand in the pocket, make you miss, and counter, hit you in the sternum. He would pull back, and you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, though, let me ask you guys this. Does Spence have the discipline for 12 rounds to fight a Tasmanian devil? And I have seen Spence fight maybe 6 times. And I think he's a good fighter, clearly. But, like, is he a great fighter or is he a good fighter and there's not a whole lot of competition? We know he and Crawford will fight in 30 years from now in some random thriller fight. You know what I'm saying? With, like, Jake Paul is the ref. You know what I mean? But, like, seriously, though, because who is Spence's best win? Kell Brook?
Good win.
I mean,
Porter is a good win.
Porter.
To Calix's point, Manny's second 10 wins are better than all of Spence's first 3, right? So that's what I'm saying is
everyone has to start somewhere, right? Like when Barrera fought Pacquiao the first time, you could say, oh, Barrera, he has all these great wins, you know, but everybody has to fight somebody before they could say they fought somebody, right? You know what I mean?
I agree. And if Spence was 24, I would agree with you.
That's a fair question, though. Can he do that because he's going to have to? There's not going to be a knockout.
Let me answer that question, and then
this is going 12.
I'll let somebody else chime in, and here's the answer to that question, okay? Manny's not a Tasmanian devil when there's a jab in his face and he's getting countered. You know what I mean? He's a little more tentative. His output goes down dramatically. Like, you know what I mean? But we're going to find out.
Can he do that for 12 rounds? Can he do that for 12 rounds?
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't know if it's like, look, I don't think Spence is the level of a counterpuncher of a Marquez or Mayweather. You know what I mean? I don't think he's that level of counter puncher. I don't think he is.
No.
So he may have to beat Manny in a way that no one really ever has, and that's like in the pocket, exchanging. Like, you know what I mean? He may have to do it that way.
Factoid, where would you rank? Everybody can take a stab at this. Where would you rank? Let's say Manny Pacquiao pulls off this victory convincingly against Errol Spence Jr., then rise off into the sunset. Where do you rank him all time? Because I mean, he's already up there.
I mean, boxing is an old game, Joe. Like it's hard to ranking fighters. You know, that's just not an easy thing to do. You can say he's an all-time great, and I think he's a legend and an icon in the sport. And I think it's fair to leave it there. You start talking about top 3, top 5, top 10. Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's already an all-time great. You come away with a win like this, you've already submitted that you were an all-time great. Now it's just more evidence to that resume.
You know what, though? I'm not convinced he steps away if he wins this because when they didn't grant him that exception to get his belt back, because now he's a champion in recess, they didn't grant him the exception. Why that was important is if he wins this fight, the only belt left in the division for him to become undisputed is Terrence Crawford. So there was a reason he was unhappy about that. I think he maybe has a 2-fight plan in place, Spence then Crawford. And he has to beat Spence in order to pull that, which is a big ask. He's the underdog, and he's rightfully the underdog here. Spence is in his prime. He's a much bigger guy, and he's going to be tough to beat. He just is. But I think there was a reason they were upset about that because, look, a belt is a belt. Manny makes the belts. The sanctioning bodies don't make Manny at this point. There was a reason that they were upset about that. I think they have a plan of fighting another time if he wins this fight. That being said, I mean, Tree, where do you rank him? Like, where would you rank him right now? Like, what is the sweet spot? Because it's hard. Like, I was looking at it earlier. Muhammad Ali was Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year 6 times, and nobody's even come close to that. Like, you can't compare fighters of this era besides maybe Pacquiao, Chocolatito, guys who are consistently fighting top competition for years and years and years. You can't compare them to Muhammad Ali. And then you go even further back. You can't compare him to Sugar Ray Robinson fighting Jake LaMotta, 6 times?
Right.
So it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Good luck making it in that era, Mayweather, like fighting like 3 times a month. You know what I mean? Good luck.
And that's why I like. That's why I like. I should probably make it easier because I like Hale's criteria when it comes to basketball rankings. Like, I only rank people that I've seen play. That's it. I can't go further back because I can't put it in proper perspective. I can't put it. That's why I tell the young kids when I get mad when they put LeBron over MJ. It's like you didn't see Michael in the 90s how dominant he was. 80s, 90s.
You can't see him. That's the thing. Like this video footage. You know what I mean?
You can, but you can't put it in proper perspective unless you lived it.
Right.
So it's tough to do. So it really. So I guess I should put it this way: is Manny the best fighter of the era right now? And if not, would this fight put him as the best fighter of the era?
I mean, if we're like you said, if we're going through that way of thinking about it, if he wins, I still don't put him at number 1, but I'll say he's part of the best fighter that we were able to watch as far as entertainment wise. So you knew what you're going to get out of when you're tuning into a Manny fight. I can't think of a boring fight other than Claudia that Manny fought. That guy that guy brought entertainment. He tried hard. Even in Claudia, he wanted to knock him out, and he just Claudia was not letting him. Claudia was like, "I'm taking my money, and I'm, you can hit my gloves all day."
And the funny thing about that he was holding back the diarrhea during that fight. I don't know about that.
But the funny thing about that is people forget how ducked Claudia was at 147.
Yeah, at that time,
Manny made him look like nobody.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
Yeah,
well, so he did have 2 black eyes at the end of that fight.
He ran into the guard. That's all. That's one thing with Manny though. Like he never took a night off. Even you got fighters who fight down to the competition. He rised up to the competition all the time. That was what was always fun to watch about him. So the higher the competition, you're going to get that exciting Manny. Yeah, like with other fighters, you could use Floyd, and I'll put Floyd. I put Floyd over Manny in this era right now. Yeah, but Floyd fights down to the competition for the most part.
I would disagree with you on that. I would put Pacquiao due to strength of schedule. And people say, well, he won head to head. True. He won head to head. But here's the thing: there are examples littered throughout boxing history of fighter A, B, fighter B, but fighter B is clearly clearly greater.
Roy Jones,
Forrest Mayorga. Like, is anybody going to rank Mayorga over Forrest as a fighter? Did they ever made a list?
It's
Mayorga beat him twice, right?
Matchups thing. So due to the strength of schedule, back to back to back, and then you're coming all the way from, like, people don't realize how difficult that is to come all the way from down here, and now you're all the way up here. And we could talk about, did he have help? But it is what it is. Didn't get caught, didn't get busted. It happened.
A lot of these guys got help.
Yeah, a lot of these guys got help. You look at baseball, Barry Bonds got help, but guess what? He was hitting against a lot of pitchers who were getting help.
Right? Yeah.
He was already a multiple time MVP, man. You talking about
that? They had the juice. I'm not talking about
a 40-40 guy already. Factoid.
Right.
Hey, just to give my quick kind of thought on this. Look, I'll be really quick. So I agree with Calix in terms of we cannot base it off of the head-to-head. You know what I mean? Like, dude, there's literally 3 men alive that knocked Pacquiao the fuck out. Like, they beat him better than Mayweather did. Like, are we going to include those guys in the all-time conversation? No, right? Now, but I don't want to, like, I don't want to, like, diminish what Floyd did either, right? Well, Floyd did at 130, spectacular.
Right.
Floyd at 135, spectacular.
And by the way, he was Ring Magazine. We talked about this last week. Floyd was Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year in his third year pro, 1998. He fought
Right.
7 times that year, won a title against Genaro Hernandez, and then defended it 2 months later against Angel Manfredi. That's how bad Floyd was.
Amazing.
So when these guys say, "I'm going to use the money,"
Well, I don't want to lose my thought though. Really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, like at the end of the day, what he did at 135, amazing. I feel he should have lost to Castillo, but you know what he did? He ran it back and he clearly won the rematch.
Yeah.
Okay. So when people say, "Oh, Mayweather doesn't know what it is to lose," and maybe not like outright, like he lost technically, but I think he felt he had to run that one back. The same with the Maidana fight, right? So I think he does have, like, his win over Canelo is one of the best aging wins ever. Like, that win is an amazing win. Mm-hmm. That was an amazing performance. And you look at what Canelo's doing now. Like, I understand that Canelo's gotten better and all that, but at the end of the day, man, that is a win. Like, Manny Pacquiao doesn't have a win like that, if we keep it honest. Right. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that he does have. You know what I mean? So I still think it's debatable. Right now, I do have Mayweather over Pacquiao. But to answer your question, if Manny Pacquiao beats a prime Errol Spence, that's a hell of a win. And you know what? You know what else? If Spence sticks around, just like Canelo is, and keeps doing great things, even after Manny's retired, that's a win that could age well for him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then what if Manny's not done? What if he then says, okay, I want to fight freaking Crawford? And then he beats Crawford. Yeah. If he does that, it's not debatable anymore. No, you know what I mean? Like at that point,
it's a huge ask.
That's a huge ask. Hey, okay. Let me just chime in super quick. So I mean, obviously, I always say this, that I can only judge people that I watch, right? So, I mean, in basketball, people are like, oh, Big O's the best point guard ever. I mean, he may be. My dad's from West Virginia. He will argue any man, woman, or in between that Jerry West is the greatest basketball player of all time. So the 5 best fighters I've seen, now, just so y'all know, I am from Detroit, Michigan. So Tommy, Jerry Curl, Hitman Hearns is my all-time favorite fighter. James Toney is second. So the state of Michigan is the single best state as far as boxing, bar none. Joe Lewis spent a lot of time there. Floyd, obviously, is from there. So the 5 best fighters I've seen is Floyd, Manny, Marquez, who obviously slept the hell out of Manny. But I randomly went to dinner with Nacho one time. This is a total sidebar conversation, but we were asking him, and we asked the translator why he has so much success versus Manny, and he said it's because he would block his punches. He would block counter. Most people would always button up when he was, spazzing out at him. So I found that really interesting. And then B-Hop and Calix's favorite fighter of all time, Pensacola in the house, Roy Jones. Those are the 5 best fighters I've seen. So whatever order, I'm not sure. I would definitely take Floyd over Manny. I realize resumes matter, and like Floyd fought people at the perfect time for him. But having said that, when Floyd had hair, that was a bad motherfucker, dog. I mean, he was coming forward.
Bad man.
He's putting people to sleep.
Hell, he got hair again.
Floyd is the best.
Oh, yeah, he has hair again, right? Hey, Calix just hope for you, right? But hey,
I don't care what anybody says. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I will say this right now. Floyd is the best 130-pounder ever. I'll put him up against anybody at 130 pounds in the history of boxing. I don't, and that's a young division, but still.
I have to think of that. But hey, real fast, honorable mention, Sweet Pea. He didn't make my top 5, but damn, he's super. Yeah, rest of it. But one thing I want to say about Floyd, the thing that always impressed me, and I was at this fight, was the Shane fight, right? Because Shane, we all know Shane had a lot of power, a lot of power. He hit Floyd flush. The whole arena was like, and it's weird for a dude that used to never get hit. Floyd knew exactly what to do. To me, that always amazed me, right? Because he grabbed him, he held on, he did just enough. Remember, what's the name? Man, at the end of one of the rounds, hit him flush too, right?
Chop Corley caught him.
Yeah,
Maidana caught him.
Oh,
Maidana caught him right before the bell, right?
Yeah, right before the
Shane caught him.
He was
yeah, dude, he was buzzed. And
that boy was woozy.
Oh my God, Carl Froch is trash. Okay, but
Dallas said.
Terrell beat Froch. Okay, Froch is a clown.
They didn't even need to
Alex
throw
says
with
his
the
name wrong.
The
Euro
real
is trash.
Cobra.
He's
The
a
real
Euro
Cobra.
bum.
The only Cobra.
Hey, shout out to Ness, Euro bum. But hey, real fast, then I'm done. The fact that he knew what to do when he got hurt, and I've seen guys that have been in wars that don't know what to do when they got hurt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like he would gather himself. The Shane fight was a prime example. Shane, legitimately, his corner was so hyped, and then Floyd started the next round a little bit slow, and then after that, just literally beat the piss out of Shane.
Well,
like,
go back and watch it. Like Floyd won the last 30 seconds of that second round,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because think about it.
He was this
like
close
in a
to
weird
going
way.
down.
Yes.
You know what else?
Like in a
You know
weird
what
way,
else,
his
Al?
chin's underrated.
You know what else too? His legs, because Ricky Hatton caught him with he didn't hurt him, but he caught him with a shot coming in the first round. I don't know how Floyd stayed up going backwards. I mean, he was going backwards and trying to catch himself and stayed up. So that shows his balance and his legs is incredible. I just think overall, with my eyes, and I look at the career, y'all know I'm a strength of schedule fighter type of boxing fan. I got Manny. Manny to me is the fighter of the era. However,
Manny over B-Hop?
I've seen, what's that?
Manny over B-Hop? Look at his B-Hop's wins.
Yeah, I would still do it. And look, you can't look 20-something straight defenses at middleweight. Yes, I would still put Manny ahead of him. All the wins he's racked up in his career. But I will say this: the best I've seen prime. It's like the Barry Bonds versus. It's like the Barry Bonds versus Ken Griffey Jr. Like all of us with our eyes, we say in his prime, Ken Griffey Jr. was the best baseball player we've ever seen. But over time, it's Barry Bonds overtook him.
I don't know,
it's
man.
The same thing here.
Barry Bonds was good, brother.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But at the same time, Roy Jones in his prime, like I was going back and watching the Vinny Pazienza fight.
Oh my God.
And Roy was just a killer at that time.
Like
Pazienza was a good fighter. Yeah, but Pazienza was trying like hell to get on the inside, and Roy was just popping him. Pop.
Hey,
it was incredible.
One super fast analogy, and I'll shut up, is I always used B-Hop as Duncan and Roy as Shaq. Like Shaq at his peak is better than Duncan, but Duncan stayed the same for like 20 years, right? Shaq was so dominant, but he was never like fully in shape. He always had all these other things off the court. Remember when Roy was playing semi-pro basketball and then would go fight at night? Like this guy was insane.
And rap on the way.
And rap himself to the ring with the body.
Redman and Meth.
That
That was insane. Redman and Meth. Where was he fighting at the Met? Maybe in New York. Where was that? It was somewhere in New York.
Yeah. No, that was at the theater in New York. That's right.
Body hit.
That was incredible. Roy could do it all, and Roy in his prime is the best.
I get what you're saying, Calix. Like there's guys that you could freeze them in time and keep them that way. Well, you could probably say, "Oh, that's the best ever," but unfortunately, they don't stay that way, right?
Right.
Like there's guys that have longevity, so whatever. Like it's like the universe gives these fighters something, or maybe it's less for more time for others, and maybe it's a lot for a short period of time for others. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's so difficult. Like when people ask, "So who's the best fighter of all time?" It's important to lay out like the criteria. Like, you know what I mean? Like what do you mean by that? Are you saying if you put them in the ring, who would win? Like in the tournament or something? Are you saying like who had a better resume? Are you saying who would be more successful for X amount of time? You know, it just depends. And even when people do fantasy matchups, right? Floyd Mayweather versus Robinson. Like, okay, are they going to fight an 18x18? Or are they going to fight in a 22x22? Are they going to fight with Robinson's gloves, or are we going to fight with Mayweather's gloves? Are we going to go 15 or 12? You know, like how are we going to do this? Are they really going to have 3-month training camps, or are they both going to be coming off a fight to six weeks ago? Like these things matter, right? And I don't think people ask themselves these questions, which is why these conversations are great.
Right. And it's hard enough. Look how much difficult we're having just for this era. So it's difficult. It's even more difficult when you're trying to put the puzzle together when you're talking about previous generations. I got a book here by Bert Sugar, the top 100 fighters of all time, the greatest fighters of all time. And Bert Sugar did a good job of breaking it down. But he definitely weighs heavier to the earlier fighters because of what they went through, right? The stuff that they went through. I mean, look at what Muhammad Ali went through. You had fighters losing 2 to 3 years of their career because of standing up to establishment. And you look at the fighters now, most of them are pampered. So you can't really compare the eras, the generations.
That's like Gary Russell layoff, like 2 years. You know, like, what's up, Gary? You're back. Like, you know, where you're fighting the crowd. I'm just chilling at home.
Is if you lose a baseball series, a football game, in like a tough loss, right? You know, like the Ravens that year at the Patriots. I think the kicker missed like a 22-yard field goal or whatever. Basketball, you get swept. The difference is, though, there's a psychological impact to getting knocked the fuck out. Like, Roy Jones was never the same individual after Tarver slept him, right? And, like, that's what I'm saying is, like, your confidence is built upon the fact that you can't lose. I think that's why, just real fast, just going back to Floyd, that's why I don't think he finished a lot of fights, because I think he was scared of losing more than he loved winning, right? And, like, to me, my favorite fighters, like whoever it is, like, dude, Hearns went out in his shield multiple times, but I honestly feel like he didn't give a fuck because he was in there to kill his opponent, right? And so to me, those are always my favorite fighters. I don't blame Floyd because it's like, you know, you want to live a long life and, you know, obviously not eat through a straw. But at the same time, it's like he would have guys hurt and he would let them off the hook. And I think if he had finished some of those fights, we would probably look at his resume differently, right? The difference is Manny was finishing people. So, yeah, they both beat Haddon. But, dude, Manny annihilated Ricky Haddon. I mean, literally, he treated him like a bum. He made Oscar quit. So while they both beat the same opponent, they didn't beat them the same way. So.
And one last thing I'll add, because we're going to get to boxing trivia in a minute, and then stick around because we got one last, if y'all have time, we got one last segment I want to get to as far as Hailstorm Sports goes. But people try to take losing out of the equation. Like, to me, if a fighter bounces back from a loss stronger, or just bounces back from a loss in general, to me, that really can add to their legacy. So I look at Manny took one of the worst L's in modern history to Juan Manuel Marquez. I mean, that was a brutal knockout in a huge fight. A fight that was closely contested, and I thought Pacquiao was up about 4 rounds to 2 up to that point. And then he gets flattened. But guess what? 2 fights later, he fights Timothy Bradley in a rematch and beats him. All right, so he comes back from the loss.
After Bradley beat Marquez, right?
After Bradley beats Marquez.
Yep.
The very next fight. So he comes back from it and then gets signature win. He beats Bradley twice after that. And then we talk about years later, he beats Matisse, he beats Broner, which Broner is Broner, but it's still a decent win. And then he beats Keith Thurman. And we're now 9 years after the knockout loss that we thought ended Manny Pacquiao. Like, I thought Pacquiao was done when he was on the canvas. I thought he was done. I thought it was over. And here, 9 years later, we're still talking about Manny Pacquiao fighting arguably the top welterweight in the world and one of the top 3 or 4 best pound for pound fighters in the world in Errol Spence right now. Errol Spence is in pretty much everybody's top 5 pound for pound ranking. So shout out to Manny Pacquiao.
Which, by the way, shows us the mental toughness of a Manny Pacquiao to literally just go back in there. You know what I mean? Like that is something. And I think it speaks to his upbringing. I mean, this guy was boxing for a bag of rice, and it's not even like some like exaggeration. You know what I mean? Growing up, so like, hey, it speaks a lot about Manny for sure.
And by the way, I don't think Manny lost the Jeff Horn fight. It's just me. I didn't think he lost the fight, but
no, he won.
Some people do. Yeah, I thought he won the fight. But anyway, let's get to boxing trivia. D-Style, do you have that Jeopardy music ready?
Of course.
We got the Jeopardy music ready. We got our guy Run PMC. He is defending his boxing trivia, Power Punchers boxing trivia. I thought he was done. What happened there? We got him defending the Power Punchers boxing trivia diamond belt. And no Hailstorm that's not named after a kid. It's named after a stripper. We got the diamond belt. So look, we got. You know,
I'm very disappointed in you guys that you don't want to support a child that defended his sister. You know, you should be supporting the Bridgerweight division.
It's a terrible division. It's a terrible look. Props to the kid, but it's a terrible division. Awful division. And an awful way to Never mind. But we got boxing trivia here. Nando was the official winner of the first one, and then we got Run PMC is back to back. Run PMC is coming here to defend for the third time. Let's see if he can. And Run PMC,
we got Haplotype in the chat. We got
Look, I don't believe in Haplotype. Anybody who is who thinks Carl Froch is trash, I just can't. I can't take their opinion seriously.
Damn, Hill, he's talking about you too.
Carl Froch lost to Darrell. It is what it is.
Carl Froch
that's a Detroit bias. That's
Flint. Can you imagine what James Toney would do to Carl Froch?
Shout out to James Toney for telling Aldous Setback to stop being a slobber. He's kissing his ass too much. Like, hey, stop being a slobber, bro.
James Toney's incredible.
That's good. That's good.
And by the way, I've said this. Jake Paul better watch his mouth sometimes, because he's going to run into a James Toney one time, and they're going to put him in his place. So James Toney's a real one. He's a real one. So we got no Google PEDs, Nando says. And I'm not sure if Run PMC is here, but guess what? We're putting his title on the line. This is boxing trivia. Let's go with question number 1. We got 6 questions tonight. 6 questions tonight.
All right, let's go.
Question number 1. In 1982, Tommy Hearns, the Motor City Cobra, Hales guy, stepped up to super welterweight to fight for the WBC super welterweight title. Which fighter did he defeat by majority decision to win this title? 1982. Super welterweight. 1982.
Is this a practice question? It's a little too easy now. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Jack?
Y'all help me out in the chat. See who gets it first. They're all on box rec right now. Who we got? Run PMC is there. He got it. Wilfred Benitez.
I don't see Run PMC commenting.
There it is right there. Benitez.
Hey.
Okay. Right.
When I was at that fight, by the way.
You were at that fight?
I was like 8 years old. I didn't know what was going on. Manny came out with a huge shag. And this dude had a jerry curl. That's all I know. What was the joke I missed?
I think somebody was making fun of your age, I think.
Oh, really? One of my sons? So aren't most older than their kids?
So on my end, it shows me I see Alda, but I don't see Run PMC. I don't know why, but
I got Run PMC first. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I got Run PMC saying Benitez first.
All right.
But somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Because G Funky did text me last week saying he got one, and it did show that he was first on his end, but for some reason it showed somebody else was first. So anyway, I got Run PMC getting it first. So he's up 1. He's starting off strong. I think he's going to defend again. I think he's going to go 3 straight. But number 2, we got 6 questions. In 2008, the real Cobra, Carl Froch, defeated which undefeated fighter for the vacant WBC super middleweight title? 2008. Go. The real Cobra. Hand speed, lightning fast hand speed. Haplo should know this.
Somebody got it.
Yeah, I see someone got it.
Is that Run PMC again? Is Run PMC again?
But I mean, because it shows. Okay, I don't know. First, I'm not seeing Run PMC's comments for some reason.
All right. So we got Jean Pascal. Run PMC got it first. Jean Pascal, he got it right before L-Dub Boxing again. L-Dub Boxing is getting close. And then Haplo got it. Of course Haplo got it because he's a closet Carl Froch fan. We all know that. Let's see what we got.
Oh y'all gotta step it up here. I mean, are you guys just gonna let Run PMC run with it or what?
Calix, Calzaghe or Froch? Who's better?
You already know. Carl Froch. You already know. Look, there's a difference between better and greater, and I already debated this with Haplo. If Haplo wants to run it back again, I'll beat him again. But
I agree with Haplo.
Carl Froch is the guy. He's better than Joe Calzaghe, greater than Joe Calzaghe. Just look at the resume. I'm just saying.
Groves, like people think Groves, like good. All right, let's go.
Number 3, since 1979, only 2 fighters have won the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year 3 times. It's only happened. 2 fighters have won it 3 times since 1979. Name the 2 fighters. Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year 3 times. 2 fighters have done it. 2 fighters.
Man, Teofimo only won it once, brother. Come on.
It's not Pacquiao Mayweather.
Yeah, that was a good guess, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
Fernando.
Let's see how long it takes him. That's right, Nando.
Rest in peace to Alex Trebek.
Somebody got it?
No.
Oh,
Not that I see. You can't name 4 fighters. All right. Stop it. Run PMC got it again. Holyfield and Manny.
Y'all got to step up, bro, because if he
Run
wins the next
PMC
one,
is
he clinched it. He's going to clinch it if he wins the next one.
How many people are in the chat right now, man? Because Run PMC is killing it.
You got 29 people out there, and Run PMC is just destroying it.
What way to go, Run PMC, man. He's embarrassing the rest of the field.
You had several fighters who won it twice, but only won it 3 times. And like I said earlier, Ali did it 6 times. And by the way, lost 2 years of his career, still did it 6 times. I mean, that's just a remarkable feat right there.
Everybody listening right now, make sure you're caught up. Like some of you are responding like 2-3 minutes later, right? So make sure you're caught up. If you pause it, go take a leak or some shit, like you're behind. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. So
hit the live button. You should be able to hit live on the left-hand side and get back up to speed because
right now, Run PMC's like oh, these styles trying to help people out. Like what's going on over here? You know what I mean?
He's a runaway freight train, right? He's like
I got to be the commissioner out here. We can't have one-sided. You know, we can't have a one-sided league or one dude dominates everything. You know what's going on over here?
Run PMC.
Am I gonna have to come out of retirement and answer these myself to beat Run PMC? Is that what I got to do?
Hey, he's like Tank Davis against like number 9 fighters. Like he's just unstoppable.
Damn.
You know what it is? I know what it is. He's asking Alexa, right?
Number 4, Muhammad Ali lost 3 of his final 4 fights. Somebody should get this quick. Name his final victory. Who was his final victory?
It wasn't against Leon Spinks.
A curveball right there.
Wasn't against.
They're already Googling the last. You know what I mean?
Rest in peace, Leon Spinks.
St. Louis.
Rest in peace to Leon Spinks, man.
L-Dub got it. He got in right before Run PMC. And look, he lost to Spinks, but he came back and beat him in the rematch.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody stepped up here. You know, we can't let Run PMC just clinch it in after 4 questions. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why I gave him the answer.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I was going to yell a factoid, but it's okay. You know
that fight happened in the Superdome. The Tommy Hearns fight happened in the Superdome in New Orleans. So you got a lot of stuff that used to happen in New Orleans, not so much anymore.
Well, how many guys were typing down Trevor Burbick and deleted it, right?
Hey, this past year, Drew Brees retired in New Orleans. So
yeah.
How many people were already typing down Trevor Burbick and they deleted it?
And by the way, hell too, Zion Williamson will leave New Orleans next year.
And I hope not. And I have some insight on that, but I get,
you got all the sources. And by the way, we still want to know who Jojo Diaz is fighting next.
And by the way, factoid, I know you're a fact guy, you're fact-based. You know, Gary Russell did beat Jojo Diaz. Just wanted to throw that out there, you know what I mean? Just because you said he hadn't beat nobody.
Yeah, and he's fought like 1 time since, probably.
Okay.
It was a couple years ago, but you know.
He fought 5 times in the past 7 years.
That's his best name. That's the best name then, right? Jojo Diaz?
For sure.
All right, number 5, we got Floyd Mayweather won Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year in 1998. We talked about that when he fought 7 times and defeated Genaro Hernandez for the WBC 130-pound title. 2 months after defeating Hernandez, which fighter did Floyd face in his first defense of the WBC belt?
Calix literally said this guy's like 20 minutes ago. I'm just saying, what are they going to do? Go back and listen to it? They would.
It just shows if they were listening or not. You know what I'm saying?
There it is. Oh, Run PMC got it right.
Whoa, wait a minute. On my end, it shows Aldub first, but I don't know.
Hold on.
Is that what you got? What do y'all have? All right, let's go.
Hold on.
Let's go with the whole panel. Cut the Jeopardy music. I got Run PMC first. D-Styles got L-Dub first.
I got PMC first.
What do you have, Factoid, on your end?
I don't have anything. I don't even have the group chat. I don't have anything.
I have I have it both timestamped at the same time too. So
somebody said Mikey.
It was all about the enter button right there, and I got PMC right before L-Dub.
It's over. And the words they managed, it's over. It's all over.
I got Run PMC first, man. I got
You're right there at 11 o'clock. Yeah, I do have, as I pulled up, Run PMC with the answer right before the L-Dub. Yeah.
So there we go. Run PM's got 4. L-Dub's got 1. Let's go with the last question real quick. In 2008, Roy Jones went 1-1, splitting with 2 fighters who would end up being in the Hall of Fame. Name those 2 fighters. In 2008.
We need to talk about this. None of Roy's losses we need to discuss.
Alex and I ran into one of them in Vegas, remember?
Yeah.
No.
I'll tell you what.
Vegas trip.
That's it right there. Calzaghe and Tito. And look, I'll tell you what.
You know what? I misunderstood the question. I thought I guess the way I interpreted it was that he went 1-on-1 against like Hopkins. Like he beat Hopkins and then he lost to Hopkins.
No, he fought twice in 2008. Went 1-1 against these 2 fighters.
I guess I thought he fought Hopkins in 2008 for some reason.
Okay. I was thinking Glenn Johnson. That's why.
Yeah, we ran into him. That's true. But no,
I want to advocate for another question. You know what I mean? Just
you can throw out a question if you want.
No, it's all good. I think Run PMC wins it again. Y'all got to step up. You know what I mean? You got to get your Alexa, Siri.
But this is how close it was. L-Dub was about 5 seconds away from winning this because he was that close on like 3 questions right behind Run PMC. So I think L-Dub might have a shot of winning this and dethroning Run PMC next week.
PMC got the quicker hands right now.
Upgrade that internet service.
But I will consult with Calix. So we're going to try to come up with some questions that Alexa cannot answer for you guys. That Siri cannot answer for you guys. You know what I mean? I'm going to make you like either or you're going to have to dig a little bit, right? You'll still use Google, but you got to dig a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit.
I think that's it right there. Run PMC is just a fast typer. I think that's what it is.
But look, the hand speed.
He's now 3-time champ. He's now 3-time people. We might have to give him like a franchise belt or something like that pretty soon because he's just. But of course, with some sanctioning fees, some extra sanctioning fees.
Hey, give him that belt named after a kid. The
I do want to let everybody know that Bridger saved his sister from some rabid dogs. Okay, he saved her. He sustained injuries. He had to get surgery, right? And the WBC did the honorable thing of naming a brand new boxing division, 225-pound limit. That is the name, Bridger.
All we're saying is it's the most random thing ever to name a weight class after a kid that was attacked by dogs. It just doesn't make any sense.
Because if you criticize the division, you're criticizing a kid that got attacked by dogs, bro.
That is like saving his says dogs. Dogs.
What kind
he
of
was defending his sister saved her life.
That's a good question too, Factoid. What kind of dogs
were these? I mean, are these pit bulls? Are these Doberman pinchers?
I think they were like Chihuahuas. You know what I mean? Like these were some vicious dogs, bro.
These wiener dogs.
Like he needed surgery. Like they were Chihuahuas. Like Chihuahuas. Well, I mean,
but if they're like a bunch of Chihuahuas, they can tear somebody up.
Right? It's so dangerous, right?
They run in packs, man. Those Chihuahuas are dangerous.
What if it was his sister's fault?
Yeah, that's.
By the way, let me, because you guys can't Google this shit. Connect Eric Morales to Roy Jones. Like fight, like someone he fought, and that guy fought somebody. That guy fought somebody. Get to Roy Jones. Go ahead, Siri that. Run PMC. Why don't you Siri that? Well, why don't you Google that?
Hey, who was Manny's strength coach back in the day? What was his name?
Alex
Ariza. And Alex Ariza almost gave Morales a heart attack, and then he went back to Mexico. So
Manny,
didn't you break that back then too?
Oh no! Remember when that happened?
Morales, but we're gonna forget about that. Though.
Yeah. It was the Morales when he was fighting Danny Garcia.
Oh, okay, there we go.
One of my boys confirmed it, man, with Sam, and I was like, "Yo, do you mind if I share this?" And he's like, "Yeah, why not?" And so he tweeted it, and all of a sudden, like, people were like, "What does this guy know? This guy's got 800 followers."
Yeah, I remember that day.
Mexican newspapers were hitting me. Then all of a sudden, like 2 hours later, like Gabe and Nash, like, "Hey, can you come on my pod, man? Like, this is crazy." So after they denied it at first, they had to admit it because, again, my guy, who I'm not gonna name, but he knew because not only was he in the camp, literally state officials knew. So like there was no going back at that point, right? Like it wasn't like, oh, Calix saw something and then you can pull Calix aside. It's like literally it's gone up the ladder, it's documented. So I was like, yeah, okay. And they're like, yo, you guys remember that? People were killing
it. Since Calix is since the power punch champion can't answer my question, it's Eric Morales versus Pacquiao. Pacquiao fought De La Hoya. De La Hoya fought Hopkins, and Hopkins fought Roy Jones. What's up? What's up, power punch champ? What's up, Run PMC? I gave you 2 minutes to answer the question. You couldn't answer. What's up, Run PMC? What's up?
Hey, a quick, pretty impressive, but a quick caveat on that. Remember when I called the New York State Athletic Commission and they had no idea what I was talking about?
Yes.
I was like, you don't know? I was like, you sure you want me to put, because we wrote an article on it and everything. Yeah. You sure you want me to put this on
internet, brother? We broke the internet.
Yeah, and then we start getting destroyed. We're getting destroyed. And by the way, like 2 hours later, Dan Raphael comes out and said, my sources tell me that
Fight Hype. That was Fight Hype, brother. Fight Hype did that.
Oh, it's Fight Hype. Yeah, but nobody was giving us any credit for breaking the story. It was hilarious. Right. And we were getting destroyed for like 2 hours because nobody would break it.
Yeah. I think I was on the phone with you, Scott. I think when you got text or whatever, you were telling me about it. We were on the phone or some shit like that. That's why I remember that vividly.
Hey, Scott's on the phone. He's like this. He's like, yo, I know he's your favorite fighter, but what's going on over here? Well,
remember when I said that? I was like, someone better tell D-Style for his heart attack.
I'm like, well, I mean, let's do the story because I actually wrote it when you posted it. So, but I did. It's funny because I'm like, just keep it like anonymous. It's Halestormsports posting this. It's not D-Style. It's not Eric.
We were getting killed.
We were being called Morales haters, all kind of stuff, getting destroyed for like hours.
The whole tweet would be in Spanish except for fucker. That's how I knew it was bad. My Spanish ain't that great, and I look Puerto Rican, but the Spanish and then to get fucking asshole. I was like, oh, okay. That's a compliment, right?
No, but you know what I remember though? Like I remember you said you had 3 sources, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just one; it was 2, and then after the third one, you're like, okay, we got to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like fell on your lap and shit. It wasn't even like people were treating him like he did this investigative shit. Like, you know what I mean? So how do you find out? Like when did the
Scott wasn't even looking
start?
for it.
He was like Matt.
Dude, no, like it literally lap. And the funny thing is, the whole way it started. Back in Detroit, I had ring space one time, right? And then like the box was so small that all these people would hit me up from like Ohio were hitting me up, like big, like in the Midwest. And I middleman deals. And then I got a deal with Vitamin Water for Winky. And I think it was B-Hop or maybe it was the fight. And then after that, I was in Vegas and all these fighters just started hitting me. because again, the fighters don't typically have like a sports agent, right? Because baseball, football, they give an agent, CAA, reps you. Dude, boxers have their just like, hey, dog, we fighting in a month.
You're breaking up, Hale. You're breaking up.
You're breaking up.
What happened is I like stumbled into the hustle of like selling patches on shorts, ring space. So then I started knowing all these people, and like that's how that story broke. One of my guys, who's a strength coach, told me, and I was like, "Oh, we verified it with," and that was it. And I think the third source and Ray.
You're still breaking up.
It's that Arizona internet, baby.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, brother, man. Here's what it is.
Let's see. I think we lost for a little while.
He's doing the Thriller. It's the Thriller.
Yeah. It's like a hailstorm over at Hailstorms. You know what I'm saying?
Better? No.
Yeah, I got you now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you turn off the camera, it'll use less bandwidth. I think.
Damn, all those times he used to clown on my phone back in the day.
Well,
internet's come back to haunt his ass.
Right. That's because you just got your first iPhone last week, Tree.
You right.
You're right. Hey, Tree has never seen a blue text. You know what I mean? Hey, the last thing I was just saying is Raging Babe was like the third source.
Yeah,
that was it.
I figured that was one of the sources for sure. I thought that was actually your first source, to be honest.
It was my boy, his name, but yeah, Mr. Strength brought the million.
But the one thing I remember from that whole episode is just getting destroyed on Twitter for hours by random Mexican fight fans. It's like, what the hell is going on? And finally, they came out and admitted what happened, and it's like, thank God that's over. But nobody was giving us credit for breaking the story.
No one.
It was like nobody.
It still happens now because we just broke Tuesday. I saw him on the ticker like an hour later.
Unreal. So it's rampant. It's rampant, not just in boxing. But anyway, the last segment I want to do. There's one guy that's not here, unfortunately. Our guy 916 Chris. Science of Violence. Great guy. He's one of those guys that YouTube, writing articles on his website, and also Blog Talk Radio. There was no fall off with this guy. He did everything really good, and then he didn't look for clout. He was just out there working, and always, he's one of those guys, man. I clicked on here with because he's one of those guys that was just about the fights, just like me. We don't worry about the business side of boxing. We don't care. He was just about the fights. And it hit all of us hard when he passed away. And, D-Style and I even talked about it. We left YouTube for a while right after because it just didn't feel right at that time. And so 916 Chris, not here with us, but rest in peace, man. And I want everybody to give their thoughts on just random stories and their thoughts on 916 Chris. D-Style, you start.
Well, the passing 916 Chris is very, very surprising. It was a shock. And if you know the story 916 Chris, the way he passed was it made it even more it was hard to take, you know what I mean? So and I had never spoken with any of his family members up until that happened, and I'm glad I did, and great people. But it was what I can say about Chris himself, man. He was a funny guy, good guy. I would go on the show sometimes on Block Talk, The Science of Violence. It was always fun. He was a big boxing and MMA fan. And I didn't blame him for this, but he was a little bigger on MMA because of its consistency. He was kind of tired of the politics of boxing. He was a guy that didn't care about the politics, didn't care about the he said, she said, and who the A side, B side, and who's going to get more money. He was a fight fan that just wanted to talk about fights and great fights. You know what I mean? And whether it was boxing or MMA. So when I first started collaborating with Chris, it wasn't until I joined the Hellstorm team because he was on Leaving in the Ring when I was on Rope-A-Dope. And there was some stuff going on there that I had my beefs like with Strike Cards and some other dudes from over there. It wasn't Chris himself, but just didn't communicate with him like that. But it was, I started really talking to him more when I joined Hellstorm. But here's the thing. I never spoke to him on the phone and had a private conversation. Like maybe some of you did. Everything with Chris was DM on Twitter, DM when they still had it on YouTube, comments on YouTube, and when we would do a show together. That's the only times I communicated with 916 Chris. And if there's regret I have, it's definitely not getting to know him more at a personal level. Because I knew him at a podcast level as a comrade in that terms and a connection with boxing, but I never got to know him personally. Like I learned more about him when I spoke to some of his family members after he passed, and I will say the whole community getting together and basically paying for that funeral to make it a little easier for the family was definitely a big deal, and they were definitely grateful for that.
Factoid, you go next.
Man, I think well said by D-Style. For me, just there are people who just have really good insight and can explain things in a way that, make it easy for, just anybody to kind of pick up on. And one of the things that really stood out about, that Science of Violence podcast and that radio show that he was doing was like, Chris he talked to you like a regular person. It's a regular person having a conversation and talking about what he saw in the fights and what he liked. And I would say at that time, while I was a MMA fan, definitely a novice, more of a, into boxing, following boxing since I was a little kid. And so just to see and to hear how he articulated what he saw in the ring, how he was able to talk about the fighters and talk about their preparation. I think to this day, he had one of the better eyes and ears for MMA that I've still heard. I mean, there are guys out there that have podcasts, but Chris he was special at it, and you can tell it was a real passion. And when something is a passion of yours, it comes through and it's clear in how you articulate that and what your tone is. And so I love the fact that he was passionate about his program. Like D-Style said, I can't say that I ever had a lot of conversations outside of what we did in the Halestormsports Network with him. I was happy to be able to come on board with my show and then be able to plug his show that was coming up on Sundays, right? My show being on Thursdays, which was really cool. And so, I think anytime for this group of guys, to be able to have relationships with one another, hopefully that, have something that's deeper than just a surface level. It's something that I think, I can certainly say, man, I didn't necessarily have that with Chris, but when he passed, I think just seeing how people rallied, put that money out there to help with the family and those services, it was touching. And he just seemed to be a genuine cat, a good guy. And it was just unfortunate to see him taken and his life lost in that way, and it's tragic. They always talk about you're close to home and you're not far from home, and then something like that happens to you. But for me, I just thought he was a good guy. I really enjoyed his program, and I learned a lot about MMA, about those fighters, just that era of guys because of the knowledge that he had and what he was able to kind of share with his listeners.
Yep. And go ahead, Tree, because I actually found out about his passing from you.
Yeah, man. I was trying to remember about that if it was you or D-Style. Man, I remember. Well, obviously, I feel like I got connected through him, through you guys, through Rope-A-Dope back in the day when it all started. For me, I wasn't big on YouTube or anything, not like you guys were. And so I remember calling in with Rope-A-Dope. We got connected through that and Twitter and the 916. That's how I met him or got to know him. But I just remember always having a good conversation. He was very I always liked talking boxing and MMA with him. He was a good guy. He's a good person. He's from the opposite side of me, Northtown, Sacramento. You know, I was a Southern Cali kid, so it was cool, man. He was a good dude. He was, if I remember correctly, a hip hop guy too.
Yes.
You know, big hip hop head. Yeah. So I know we had good talks about that.
He had a bad taste in hip hop, though.
I was going to touch on that, Calix.
You know, so it was shocking. I remember now. It was talking to you about it, but it was sad. But it's cool, you know, that everyone came together, like Factoid and D-Style said. But yeah, man, I just remember the shows, man, calling in just in the beginning. That's like my fondest memories, especially when I was new to it, new to the shows, new to the whole scene. Because I was on Twitter, but I wasn't on YouTube. And then I started listening to you guys on Ropedo. Then I started calling in all the time, and we all got connected. And it was too bad we couldn't all get together. How a lot of us been able to get together after that. You know, because he was always seemed like a cool cat who would be dope to hang out with outside, you know. But you know, that's about it, man. Good dude, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Hale.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, he was the single biggest E40 fan that's ever walked the face of the earth, bro. I mean, him and Calix used to go back and forth because Calix hates Bay Area rap. He hated down south, so like Juvenile versus E40.
But remember, the debate was always who's worse, E40 or Silk the Shocker.
Yeah, Silk the Shocker. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. What's funny is because the last couple of years, E40's beloved in Detroit, and low key, like he's had a couple bangers, and literally, I kid you, no lie, the first person I thought of was 916 Chris. I mean,
Chris.
When I say this guy loved E40, like that's not an understatement. Like, remember when he showed us his collection? And like, I mean, I'm talking about this dude had like, I mean, it looked like one of those closets with like the mirror door. You open it up, it's just all E40 stuff. Like, I was like, good. And you guys bring up an interesting point, right? Because I talked to him on the phone a few times because it's super crazy with all going to Vegas. Now we all style doesn't leave the state of Texas, right? But like one time up, and I was asking him, right? And so he we exchanged numbers. So that's when he told me he was in a wheelchair.
In fairness, Texas is a big state. I just want you know.
Country. That's all our conversation. So. But that's when he kind of like told me, and I was like, oh shit. So it was awkward, but I think he did it because it was just easier to tell me than let the joke linger of like, oh, like you're gonna make the Vegas, right? Because like we're all going to a fight, and then there was a fight in the Bay. I was like, hey, we had credentials to it. I don't even know who it was. Like maybe it was like Andre Ward, like super early or something, right? And like he's like, oh no, man, I'm not gonna be able to make it. So I think he realized instead of me like keep badgering about it, so we got on the phone and then we like talked a few times. And the thing about him that was really, first of all, he had this dry sense of humor, right? Like super dry. But he was the exact same cat on his show phone, like literally.
And that's rare.
Yeah. So he didn't have like a show personality. Like that was just who he was. So like the way, like you guys were saying how he was like really thorough with the fights, like we probably talked on the phone like 4 or 5 times. And like the conversations we had, everything he discussed, it was like that research and that detail. And I was like, dude, this is a really sharp cat. And it just, I mean, obviously the way he passed, that sucked. And then I don't know who told me, but who was the one that connected her? Because I actually like, oh, you know what it was? DM something to his account, and like she was responding to it or something.
Right.
And I was like, oh my god! So I don't know if one of you guys had told me yet or not, or I just like randomly hit him on there. But either way, I was DMing with her, and like it's just horrible, man. And yeah, man, just a really solid cat. Love the hell out of the Bay Area. Love Sacramento. Period. The Kings. You know what I mean? Like, dude. I mean,
he was all Bay Area.
You know what I mean? Like, this 916 Chris. He definitely repped Sacramento hard, man.
Right.
He repped Sacramento hard. Huge hip hop fan, especially old '90s hip hop. Especially West Coast hip hop, unfortunately. But the thing I remember about him too was
hater.
we had the podcast wars, and he was willing to debate anything.
What's up, Calix?
Remember the starter jackets? Me and him had the starter jackets.
Oh,
because he was talking about all the starter jackets he had. And I mean, he was big into lowriders, and we would talk about the West Coast rims that they had with the spokes and all that stuff. He was big into all that. The car shows. He'd go out to the car shows. So he was just solid dude. I talked to him a lot on the phone. I texted him a lot, probably more than we tweeted. We texted. So close to him. Science of Violence, dopest name ever.
Yes.
The article he would put out every Monday morning, the good, the bad, the ugly. He just put out good content. It wasn't flashy. It was just good. On YouTube, he didn't talk about it unless the fight was made, and he was going to talk about the fight, and then he was going to talk about it after the fight. And the one thing I remember about him too is he supported everybody's channel. He supported everybody's content. He was, you better believe, on Thursday night he was commenting on Factoid's channel. On Tuesday night he was commenting on our channel, on our podcast. The same thing with D-Style on Mondays. He was going to comment and support on the whole team, and that's what I remember about him, man. Solid dude. Rest in peace. Wish he was here. But the one thing I'll say too, man, is I think throughout the sports blogging world, I doubt that people like teams that were together putting out content could get together 7-8 years later like this and still be friends, like genuinely be friends, right? Like you have falling outs, you have people getting into it with each other, you have egos, like and that's credit to us because
egos.
we didn't let Factoid's ego get in the way. What was going on with
we kind of just let him have that ego.
Look, I can't help the fact that I was that good.
I do want to say like this is like a reunion show. Usually, like I remember when I had the Roboto radio reunion, and we were talking about all the drama and all the shit that happened. You know what I mean? Like we really don't have a story, guys. Like there's no there wasn't a fallout. There's nothing that happened. It just kind of happened.
Well,
like I got a job. I couldn't do anything anymore, and I never got back to it. I think
you got a job.
is, like moved on. You know.
First of all, as that you did before.
No, well, you know what I mean. Like the job got in the way. A new job got in the way of
You got a real job.
In the way.
Hey, look. Yeah. Factoid got me. Tree got me. Proud of my sons, man. Said. Real fast. Two things. There were so many moments.
He needs a better Wi-Fi. That's what.
Hell, you're breaking up again.
Yeah.
Try this, and we'll hear you. Turn off the camera. And we'll use less bandwidth.
I didn't think they had dial-up in Scottsdale. Geez.
Yeah, I thought dial-up was done.
You know what? This is karma, is what it is. Because for years he used to make fun of our stuff. Now it's happening
all the time.
All the time. Hale forgot to pay that bill.
Yeah, or remember he would say D-Style calling from his rotary phone, you know. Payback the mother.
Like he's still trying to. And nothing works.
It ain't working, brother. Like the universe isn't letting you. You know what I mean? That's what's going on right now.
It's that right Detroit hat.
Hey, real fast.
Yeah, you're good now.
First of all, footballnews.com, you bastards. A couple Trees, Fanny, Pacquiao was like Calix, the best athlete, rapper, song, greatest podcast in the history of podcasts. Unfortunately, it's somewhere lost in the universe. Factoid was always the smoothest guy, and then we met him in Vegas, and he was hyper the whole weekend, and no one could figure that out. D-Style, we tried to steal him forever and came on board. But you know what, though? Props to Calix, because, dude, Calix found everyone. Like, I kid you not. I just got on Twitter randomly and tweeted, and this John B. looking bastard followed me one day. I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh, it's Calix. So we got cool. I was like, oh, and like literally, and I saw one of my friends, yo, I think he follows me. And then he like literally already knew about all you guys. Then before we knew it, we started just grabbing people up. And like, think how ambitious that was. I mean, we had jobs outside of D-Style. But like those, like 4 to 5 night site, we had articles, we were stories. Like that was a lot of work to just do man, it's a hobby. And then one last thing, I didn't renew the domain because I switched credit cards. And Callis calls me. He goes, "Hey man, get on the phone with Go before I buy Hailstorm Sports from you." I guess my whole website. I had no idea.
I was about to steal it from you. You're lucky.
I will say this,
hey, you're lucky. I have ethics. You're lucky.
You have more ethics in here.
Remember Epics? The Epics fail thing that was trending. I will say though, Hailstorm was also. I remember that. Like I brought all my talents. I brought like fantasy boxing to Hailstorm Sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't ever forget about that. Now, by the way, I want to bring it back, but I'm just gonna be real transparent with everybody. That shit was too much fucking work to do for free.
Yo, I remember D-Style. It was getting too much for D-Style, where he's like, "Hey, I need you to help me keep points of this." He'd email me everybody's thing. I'll be up at night, late at night, crunching the numbers and everything.
Dude, it was like so good, but it was like too much fucking work, bro. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I will put up.
Calculator.
I'll put it up against any pick'em that has ever existed in boxing.
It was revolutionary, man. It was next level to be a part of that at such an early stage, and the fact that came over.
That shit ran Twitter, bro.
Yeah.
I was getting 60 retweets every time I put the numbers out because I had 60 people on that.
Our shows that would just be about fantasy boxing too. The trash talking that went on, classic, bro.
Shout out to Real Spitz. That's right.
Hey, yeah, hey, and then another thing. Speaking of podcast wars and all that, can we all agree here that Calix still never won a podcast war though? Like that guy's taking more L's, like.
No wins,
but yet the guy's so delusional. He thinks he has wins. Like it's
wins.
It's adorable.
He's a Jake Paul of podcast work.
Hale called me a cockroach because I kept coming back.
Yeah,
you can't kill him, right? You couldn't kill him. It's like, man, I destroyed him. This dude keeps coming.
I'll tell you what, the spirit of Hailstorm Sports still lives on, man. It still lives on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was fun, man. Good shit.
And I'll say this too. First of all, one thing I remember about Factoid Show is, and Hale used to always say this, Factoid had the young demographic on lock. He was like a K-pop band. He would have like teenagers.
He was like R. Kelly. He was like R. Kelly.
Whoa! You're saying he was a Pied Piper now? Is that what you're saying?
That's a Bridger weight right there.
Let's slow down, Detroit.
The Bridgerweight demographic. I hear you.
Hey, but seriously though, if we're talking about the people that listen to those shows, how can we be doing this without Air Johnston? I mean, if we all had a fan of tune into every show on all the networks, it was Air Johnston.
Hey, somebody's got to do some Matlock work, detective work, and find out where Air Johnston is.
He's probably a billionaire somewhere.
Yeah, for real.
Bezos second in charge.
Talk about 30 years old.
I'll tell you guys something really quick. We used to run Twitter, bro. Like now it's like all these young Twitter dudes, they don't know who I am. Who's this old dude? Like
I don't even know how to use Twitter anymore.
I'm like,
bro.
dude, I used to run fantasy boxing on Twitter. I used to be that dude. Hey. And like now, like they're all gone, bro. Like it's like I feel like those
all got jobs.
Brag about their days in high school.
Yeah.
And also like I remember like doing like the podcasting. Shout out to Packland.com. They got us to number 1 a couple times. You know what I mean? Packland.com is where it was at. That we would beat everybody in Block Talk with Packland.
We were killing Blog Talk.
Yeah, man. Hey, Air Johnson, man, that's a good one, man. Remember Scott? Talk about Scott clowning everyone. He would always count on how young he was and his his face. Talk about that was not even Scott's kid. That was one of his grandkids, right there.
Yeah, I'm not lying, man. I want to see you guys' faces more often, man. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And we got to do it again. A lot of stuff to talk about, but
this is good. Hopefully,
fun show.
Hopefully, I'll have y'all on future podcasts, and we all keep in contact too. We're all. This isn't just a podcast thing. We're all like in group text together and whatnot. Spitz isn't here.
I'm not in any group text. I don't know what group text you're talking about.
We pushed Spitz off the group text, but Spitz is still cool. Shout out to Real Spitz.
Yo, hey, real quick, if Spitz is watching, he'll probably like this. I saw Spitz out here in Vegas. I met up with him real quick, and this guy was rocking the whole Tupac music video, hit him up. Where was like gun holster suspenders. I've never seen a Filipino from Hawaii look so fly in Vegas, bro. That guy was out there. He looked like he just came with a whole like train of hoes over there, bro. Like the dude was pimping.
He understands. He understands
I found the
entertainment.
video, by the way, with you.
He understands entertainment, man. He's all hip hop. He loves entertainment.
Remember when he fell down the steps?
Yes. At my bachelor party.
Damn, I missed out a lot of shit, bro. This is crazy.
I thought you were talking about
Gotta
me.
get on a plane, D-Style.
No, but Big Tree, I saw that video years later. I never saw it when you guys first put it out. Like Callie sent me the link. You and Real Spitz, like talking some shit. You know what I mean? Oh, the commissioner D-Style. I think he's rigging fantasy boxing. I never saw this shit. That would have been a suspension on the spot, bro. Like
that was with like when Spitz had like the hit him up beat talking shit about Calix, I think, right?
Yes.
In the big.
Those diss videos are classic.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll bring it back. We'll take over Twitter again. You know what I mean? But
we would. We'd take it over.
Yo, I'll never forget the worst decision I made in a pie bet using a pumpkin pie during Thanksgiving time. I think I lost to you, Joe. I think it was to you I lost, and I tried to be cute about it, use a pumpkin pie, festive, Thanksgiving, and that shit was the worst to get pied with.
That might have been the original pie bet. That might have been the one. And I remember Spitz catching a pie in the used car parking lot.
We started the pie thing, huh? We do it now.
We started that.
I still continue the spirit of it on HCP. I do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I still do the pie bets. I took a pie live in front of 100 people watching. That was fun, but still, you know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, man. I think I want to see you guys back. I want to see you back on the show.
Yep. Hey. It's good to catch up again. Go ahead, Hale.
Yeah, I'm wrong. You get on here after Calix flaked off. Hold on. First of all, I want to say I've even been to Texas. I haven't been to that truck stop El Paso. That's the only reason why I haven't met D-Style. I've been to New Orleans. Hey, shout out to Calix and shout out to his brother who pushed my wife, Jeremy, out the club like. That was funny as hell. Calix and I have been in Vegas like twice. We sold shirts. I had him in VIP and bottles. Tree is my dog. I actually stayed at Tree's crib one.
But
I think my died, and then the time Tree was he tried to make a turn and just.
Yo, I still got it there. Hey, yo, remember? Didn't I get one of your shirts to
Roger El Paso now?
Didn't I get one of your shirts to Roger Mayweather too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
That was a big
thing. Right. So all great memories.
Sled Skills. Remember?
Sled Skills.
Scott, remember?
Minnesota's finest.
Yo, let me tell you something. The best part of this show is Hale's crappy internet. Like,
yes, it is. It feels so good, bro.
It wouldn't have been as good without the crappy internet. I'm just saying.
The internet's the mic, man. I'm telling you.
That's because he's somewhere in R. Kelly's basement right now.
Wow.
Thank you, Tree. Thank you.
Got
Shots
you.
Fired. Shots fired.
Tree, you laugh one more time. The head.
We lost you again.
I would laugh, but I don't know what you said.
It just makes it so epic, though. It's just like epic,
The internet is
we lost you again.
The internet saved me. Tree, thank this internet.
I am.
You smile one more time.
Is as reliable as the Red Wings, so he's wearing a hat. It's just you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Hey, shout out! This is the best haircut he's.
I got fresh. It was a reunion after fresh up. You know what I mean? So
you do look nice. You do look nice.
But look, man, it's been real. We'll all be in contact. We'll have everybody back again. I appreciate everybody coming on. We're gonna wrap this thing up. As always, catch D-Style tomorrow night on the round table. You know where to catch us. We out. Peace.